Prime Minister tells GB News exclusively that he was not put on a ventilator when he contracted COVID-19 2 years ago.
Good morning. It's 6 o'clock on Saturday, April the 9th. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
We're live across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio.
And coming up this morning in that exclusive interview with GB News, the Prime Minister explains how unwell he felt when he was admitted to hospital 2 years ago with COVID.
Whatever happened to me was really mild by comparison with the experience of so many other people, so many thousands of other people in this country.
Meanwhile, the UK is sending another £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine's armed forces after a deadly Russia strike on a train station killed at least 50 people. We'll bring you the latest on that.
Rishi Sunak's wife says she will now pay UK tax on her worldwide income after coming under fire for holding non-dom status. Now, is this just a political ploy to save her husband's political career? What do you think?
And Will Smith is banned from attending the Oscars for 10 years after he slapped Chris Rock on stage. Is that fair?
Yes.
He's going to keep his Oscar.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably fair enough in a way. But no, banned for 10 years? Yeah, fair enough, I think.
He has said that he respects and accepts the Academy's decision. It's the right thing to do. He's using the right words now. He didn't use them on the night.
No, we did not. What do you think about any of our stories this morning? GBViews at gbnews.uk or tweet us at GBNews. So we start with more of our exclusive interview with GB News and the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, speaking openly about contracting COVID 2 years ago. He's understandably praised NHS staff for their care and denies that he was ever on a ventilator.
Anybody who's had COVID, and there are many, many thousands of people who have been through it in the country today, will tell you that it can be pretty debilitating. It does put you flat on your back. That's what happened to me. It was in the early stages of our understanding of it. I went into hospital, and it was certainly true that my oxygen levels, for whatever reason, were pretty low. And you know, they put the oximeter on your forefinger, and they monitor you very, very carefully. And they were absolutely brilliant. But for some reason, they couldn't seem to get my oxygen levels to get up to the levels that they wanted. And you should be roughly sort of 94% or above 94% oxygenation of the blood. And I think when I went in, I was in the 80s somewhere, I think. And I then had a pretty groggy night, and went down even lower. But as I've said before, the NHS was absolutely amazing.
Well, you can watch that exclusive interview with the Prime Minister in full on the Saturday Selection, which is later on GB News. It's later on at 10 o'clock.
In the meantime, let's talk to political commentator Dr. John Coulter for his analysis. It's quite interesting, isn't it, getting an interview with the Prime Minister in the first place and getting what a fairly personal experiences about all of this that went on.
Well, good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Anne. I'm a wee bit suspicious, I must add, of this interview. Number one, whilst I appreciate the Prime Minister is trying to re-engage with the nation by saying, look, I had it too, these were my symptoms, I came through from that point of view. I suppose on the positive side, we can say that the Prime Minister is still keeping the issue of COVID and the pandemic on the table. By expressing just how serious the COVID and its, shall we say, its various variants can be. He's also hinting as well, also in that interview, specifically that he may have to use lockdown again as an option. The big problem this time is, will he be able to get the nation behind him? So I think that we've got to read between the lines about him talking about COVID, how it affected him, and how he may need to use lockdown as a way of combating further mutations and variants. So I think in one way he could be preparing the nation for another lockdown. let's not forget the big problem that he now faces with, if he did introduce another lockdown, is the credibility of that lockdown, given Partygate. And who's he going to get to enforce the lockdown? Is he going to pass the buck to the police?
Exactly. That'll be a very interesting one if, and God forbid, in a way, it ever happens again. I wondered why he's apparently downplaying how seriously ill he was. When he first came out of hospital, there was a lot of emotion in his voice. He had been vulnerable. He was talking about how he must lose weight. He had been so ill, so scared, and was so thankful to the nurses who were literally just holding his hand and willing him through it. Is he trying maybe now to be a stronger sort of figure, the strong Prime Minister, instead of the vulnerable one he portrayed at first?
Yes, I think what he's trying to do is to give a message of hope to people, to the survivors of COVID, no matter whether they had a small dose of COVID or whether they had a very, very severe dose of COVID and resulted in them being on ventilators. He did mention ventilator in his piece, and we know that many people were on ventilators and survived. Tragically, many people were on ventilators and didn't survive. So I think that given all the Tory sleaze allegations that there have been over the recent years, given Partygate from that point of view, I think the Prime Minister wants to show that he is now a man in charge of the nation. And this is one way he can do it, by saying, look, I survived COVID, you can survive COVID, let's move forward together. Because don't forget, we are in election fever at the present minute. There's elections about to take place on May the 5th, right across the United Kingdom for various types of institutions. So perhaps there is a bit of electioneering by the Conservative Party here. Look, we've got a man in charge. We've got a man who's healthy. We've got a man who knows what direction he wants to take the country.
About electioneering, what do you make of Rishi Sunak and this decision by his wife now to do an absolute U-turn on the non-dom status, which, you know, maybe is going to appease a few people. It's going to cost her about £2.1 million in taxes. Will this be enough to get the Chancellor out of hot water on this one?
I think there are two things that we need to take into consideration here, Stephen. First of all, whilst Mrs. Sunak hasn't broken any laws, because we are in election mode at this present minute in time, perception can be as dangerous as reality. And if the perception was that whilst many people are in the poverty line because of the pandemic, because of the situation in Ukraine, and they're having to either make the choice of heat or eat, and here we have somebody who is perceived to be allegedly tax dodging, that doesn't augur well for the Conservative Party. And secondly, I suppose if you were into political conspiracy theorists, Sunak himself, he's one of the leading contenders to take over from Boris Johnson if there's an internal coup within the Conservative Party, which, if you put it along with the Prime Minister's COVID talk here, showing the strong man of the Conservative Party, could this be a way of spiking the guns of Sunak so that any potential coup is put on the back burner? So I think we've got to read between the lines in this aspect.
Well, John, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's very interesting the way all of these things are being played at the moment, isn't it? Thank you very much for your views on that. We've got people coming in saying, Dave says, let's ask the doctors and nurses from the hospital who treated him. We need to know the truth.
Yeah, they won't say anything. Patient confidentiality. Yeah, right. But it's interesting, as you say, it was... he does seem to be playing it down somewhat.
I think he's playing it down a lot. And I think that...
Or did he play it up a lot? Well, actually, I don't think it's fair to say he played it up,
I
because
can
he was
imagine
very ill.
When he came out of hospital, and he was coming over vulnerable, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've really realised that I've got to lose weight and do something about that. And that I was holding on to these two nurses, and he named them. Do you remember? And he said, they pulled me through because... And I think he said he was scared. But none of that's apparent now. No. He's just sort of he just wants to sort of talk about the NHS and how wonderful the NHS is. I think he's trying to come over as the big, strong Prime Minister now. And maybe even his advisors said to him at the time, never show yourself as vulnerable, because in a leader, you don't want vulnerability, do you?
I don't know. I think with something like this, though, vulnerability it's not always a weakness to show that vulnerable side, I don't think, but I'm not a politician. Gabby, morning Gabby, says his government has got a mission to stop COVID from breaking the economy ever again, and I think he's done a great job.
That's another reason he's got to come over strong, you see.
Yeah, I suppose.
He's going to say, I'm in charge, we did the right things, we'll do the right things if it ever happens again. I'm the guy to pull you through COVID.
It's why I don't necessarily agree with John Coulter's analysis, saying, well, he's preparing us for another lockdown. I wouldn't.
I think it's the opposite. Almost.
Yes, I think, because a lockdown would be it would be the very, very last thing that he would want, because it would be so politically damaging. I mean, apart from the reality of it for us,
economically,
politically
we now
so
know
damaging.
it would be so damaging. Martin says, I've lost faith in this government. I don't believe a word that comes out of any of their mouths. Politicians for you.
Yeah, Susan, it's trickle-down politics. Johnson does what's best for Johnson. This account is to help win back support after a terrible few weeks for his party. Well, there's got to be an element of that, and that's politics, I guess, Susan.
Yeah,
isn't it? But I don't know. Isn't it interesting, though, on something which is very personal, we then have to take a political spin on it.
Yes.
That's what it's the nature of the beast. But, I know at the time, and from friends I've got within government, he really was extremely ill.
Yes, but the absolute mantra for politicians is never be weak, always be strong. And I think that's what we were seeing.
It's a bit like with American presidents and presidential candidates. They have to be seen running, don't they, jogging. They're always seen jogging.
I know, Boris too. He goes out on his bike or he goes out jogging.
Yeah.
What is it about jogging?
I don't know.
I suppose it's
jogging.
meant to be good for you.
Very bad for your knees. But there you go.
Well, if you're overweight, it is bad for your knees. I think it's all right if you're not, but I've tried to get into jogging. I tried to like it. Yeah, I was told that if you stick at it long enough, after a couple of months, your body will crave it and you'll want to go out running.
Really? Did it work? No. It is 12 minutes past 6, I beg your pardon. Let's bring you up to date with what is going on today. And the UK is sending a further £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine's armed forces. Follows a Russian rocket strike on a train station in Kramatorsk, which killed at least 52 people, including 5 children.
The Chancellor's wife has said she will now pay UK tax on all her worldwide income. It's after it emerged that Rishi Sunak's multimillionaire wife, Akshata Murthy, holds non-dom status, which actually legally exempts her from paying tax here on foreign income.
Will Smith has been banned from attending the Oscars for 10 years after slapping Chris Rock on stage. It happened when the comedian made a joke about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
The Queen and other members of the royal family are expected to privately mark the first anniversary today of the Duke of Edinburgh's death. He died this day last year at Windsor Castle, just months short of his 100th birthday. Well, the UK is apparently going to send £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine amid fears that Russian forces are preparing a new offensive in the east of the country.
Now, this follows a missile strike on a crowded railway station at Kramatorsk, killing at least 50 people, 52, we think, 5 children included in that. And later on today, there's planned protests in London calling for an immediate Russian withdrawal.
Well, for more on this, Ewan Grant, former intelligence analyst of ex-Soviet states, joins us in the studio. Good morning, Ewan. Hi.
Hello there. Great.
So, how do you read this, then? What is going to happen next? Do you think that's what Russian forces are doing?
Yes, I think the media coverage has been pretty accurate here. It seems quite clear they are concentrating for a major push to at least secure the land bridge, get Mariupol. That gives them a degree of clout with international opinion, and they can sell to Russia. I think it's a very interesting point, which quite a few have been making. The Times have been very good on reporting this. The unity of command. They're concentrating in what they call their southern military district under one of the insiders of the Russian armed forces, General Dvornikov, and they're seeming, they're not just pulling back at Kiev or being pushed back, they are also withdrawing back towards Crimea. They're still keeping threats there, and indeed in the north, as I heard from Kiev last night. But I think it's a concentration in the east.
How does this play out internationally? Because as we know, Putin almost has to go back to the Kremlin with something to show this has been worthwhile. Now, if the West continues to deny him any further encroachment, then there's big questions about how we could respond, isn't there?
I don't think we will be able to deny full encroachment. I think he will get the land bridge, and I think he will probably de facto be able to control all of Donetsk and Lugansk region, because remember, they didn't control all of it by any means. And that, remember, was the excuse for the war, was to protect, if you can call it that, the populations there. Of course, it's nonsense. It wouldn't be a victory, and I hope it certainly isn't a victory, but it's a controlled media. He can sell it, and one of the things that is definitely coming out is the bulk of the Russian population are still taking this. They're still accepting this.
Yeah, and yet we can't understand why, because by the sound of it, hundreds of thousands of body bags are coming back to Russia. Russian mothers are having to mourn their lost youngsters, some of whom are reportedly very, very young. So why isn't the truth getting through to them?
There's an interesting point there. The Financial Times isn't the only one to highlight the large number of deaths from the populations of the remote regions, the Far East and Siberia. You notice that colonel who was in charge of the unit allegedly involved in the atrocities at Bucha is from the Far East. He's not a Slav. So it may be cannon fodder comes to mind.
Yeah. I mean,
I've seen how their armed forces
That's
operate
awful, though, isn't it? To think, well, yeah, we'll farm in people from these less connected communities. Therefore, there won't be as much impact when they don't come back.
Yeah.
It's awful, isn't it? What about those former Soviet states involved in it? Because there's a huge amount of concern, isn't there, still on the NATO eastern border as to what could happen next. Have we seen the wind taken out of Putin's sails when it comes to possible encroachment into what are now NATO countries on his border?
Yes, I think so. I think he would regard it as extremely foolish. There's been, of course, as you know, reinforcement, particularly from the US, UK. We can hold our heads up high. Let's be clear about this. This is what we've done is the result of a lot of hard work in region, in Ukraine, the army training teams, the Navy as well at Odessa.
Which has been going on for years.
Exactly, that's the point. This has been prepared. This will be an example. And the Baltic states are getting some support. Yes, it's tripwire, but we've seen how tripwires can work now, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. Ursula von der Leyen was there yesterday, I think, wasn't she, meeting President Zelensky. And she has said that Ukraine will be a member of the EU and she's going to expedite that. That will infuriate Putin. I mean, it's not NATO, but it is EU. Won't that infuriate Putin?
It will. But then again, he probably realised that the west of the country, west of the river, was moving that way anyway. There's still a lot of ifs and buts. It's fast-tracking the starting of the procedure. So we may be talking, and believe you me, I've seen how EU bureaucracy works. I'm not the greatest fan of it. That said, I think they can hold their heads up. They can also hold their heads up high. They're putting the de facto EU ambassador back to Kiev. And the very fact that they visited yesterday to Kiev says it all.
Yeah. Okay.
Well done, EU. Don't always do that.
No,
this time.
Saying that through gritted teeth, you.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Okay, Ewan Grant, former intelligence analyst. Good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
Interesting, isn't it? Because it almost feels a little more positive today.
Let's
One
hope
doesn't
that
like to say it,
continues.
really.
Yeah, keep our fingers crossed. Stay with us here on Breakfast. Up next, we're marking the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Prince Philip.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering.
As their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children, and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
.6:26, very good morning to 6:22. What's wrong with me and the time today?
Keep saying sixes, that's a bit weird.
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
It is
oddly,
6:22.
because I don't actually feel that tired this morning.
No,
Weirdly.
Sometimes you can be tired one day and the knock-on effect is the next day, isn't it?
Maybe that's it. Yes,
Jet
6:22.
lag.
Don't reset your clocks, ladies and gentlemen. I'll get myself reset. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. We're live across the UK on your TV and on your radio.
Now, today, a naval uniform worn by the Duke of Edinburgh and his Admiral's cap go on display for the first time at the National Museum of the Royal Navy in Portsmouth.
It is exactly a year since he passed away.
I can't believe that.
Our royal reporter Cameron Walker looks back on that day and Prince Philip's legacy.
He is someone who doesn't take easily to compliments, but he has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years.
Prince Philip passed away peacefully at Windsor Castle in April 2021, just 2 months before his 100th birthday. He had been at the Queen's side for 7 decades, devoting his life to his country and family. TV presenter Eamon Holmes was broadcasting at the time and recalls the moments the news was announced.
Prince Philip passing wasn't a totally unexpected situation. He had been ill for some time.
The Duke of Edinburgh's scaled-back funeral 8 days later celebrated a lifetime of support for the armed forces. He even helped design the Land Rover hearse that carried his coffin to St George's Chapel in Windsor. His wish for a no-fuss approach was perhaps emphasised by a service bound by pandemic restrictions, a small silver lining in the cloud of coronavirus. But it did mean the Queen was forced to sit alone, just one of 30 masked mourners in the chapel.
These two came together.
Margaret Tyler is known as Britain's loyalist royalist. She claims to own around 12,000 individual pieces of memorabilia and has met the Queen 4 times.
Didn't she look sad sitting there on her own? I just want to go sit with her, honestly. I just felt so sorry.
Prince Philip's granddaughter, Princess Beatrice, describes his incredible sense of humour, but he was sometimes a little abrupt.
He talked to me about climate change once and he said, love it, love it. He said, it's great for the grouse in Norfolk. I don't know why everybody complains. His point being that whatever the climate change was doing, it was leading to a bigger population of grouse, which he would then go out and shoot.
The Queen was actively involved in plans for the Duke of Edinburgh's service of Thanksgiving last month at Westminster Abbey. Her Majesty was determined to be there. Despite her growing frailty and mobility issues, she took the shorter routes to her seat via Poets' Corner, accompanied by her son, Prince Andrew. A decision which threatened to overshadow the day because of the Duke of York's out-of-court settlement in a civil sexual assault case. He's always denied the allegations. There were 2 notable absentees. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex chose not to be there. Margaret thinks he should have made the effort.
I do think Harry could have come over. I mean, he's only got to get on a plane, hasn't he? And I think the Queen would have appreciated that because she's very fond of him, isn't she? He's her grandson.
The service itself celebrated the Duke of Edinburgh's contribution to public life and support for around 700 charities which he was associated with. Free from restrictions, many elements planned for the original funeral could finally be honoured. Now, a naval uniform worn by the Duke of Edinburgh and his Admiral's cap is on display for the first time, celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, a lasting tribute to a World War II naval hero. Cameron Walker, GB News.
I can't believe it's a year already.
It's gone very, very quickly.
Hasn't it? I wonder how it's gone for the Queen. She's been a year a widow now. And no, it doesn't seem that long ago. There you go. Isn't it? No. I mean, I tell you what, that uniform does look wonderful, doesn't it? I mean, particularly the naval uniform. I mean, there are a lot of actually army uniforms. The dress uniforms. The ones with all the gold and braid. Gosh, they look good.
Number 1s.
Yeah, that's what they call them, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And fatigues are what you see them in every day. Is that fatigues?
Yes. Well, yeah.
No, I don't fully know either. Should.
MTPs, but that's the army, isn't it?
What's that?
Multi-terrain pattern.
Oh, that's camouflage type stuff.
That's what they wear every day.
You don't call it camouflage anyway, you call it MTP.
MTPs. Oh, I'm all with the lingo, me. There you go.
Very clearly.
It's because I have to launder them every weekend.
You do the laundry?
I have to.
You never do the laundry.
I do, yeah.
You do?
Oh, I've got the MTPs in the washing machine every Friday night.
Oh.
There you go, you see, I'm domesticated. I'm domesticated.
Well, look, this morning we've been asking if you have a special connection with your pet, animals, or maybe nature in general.
Oh, yes, because
Have a look at this.
Oh, there's me.
That's what you were up to yesterday afternoon.
Yes, it's
Do you know, that is a gorgeous photograph.
They're lovely, aren't they?
Tell us more. What were you doing?
So I went lambing yesterday, and if you're watching, if you're listening on the radio, then there's just me with some lovely lambs, and then a lovely video of a lamb taking its very first steps. And if you want to watch the pictures, if you're on radio this morning, download the GB News app, and you'll be able to have a look there.
But there you see a lamb, as you say, taking its very first steps. So you were there. You actually saw it being born.
Yeah, that was about 10 minutes old, and then they just get, and Mum's there cleaning away all the amniotic fluid and things, and then.
How very Jeremy Clarkson of you.
Oh, it's so lovely.
It is amazing. And isn't it life-affirming in a way?
Well,
that, nature goes on and these little, those sheep are giving birth to baby lambs right in front of you.
I just think
then within a few moments you're cuddling one.
It's just the thing about, we were saying, weren't we, yesterday, about real life and things, and it's just that sense where you think whatever else is going on in the world, sometimes it's just seeing things like that or having a cuddle with a cat or the dog, and you just think, oh, this is real life.
Did you have a go at feeding the baby lambs?
No, it was just sucking my finger.
Yeah.
Do you see on that?
But they do that, do they?
Oh yeah, put your finger in, and they just go like the clappers.
Well, they're programmed to, I suppose.
Yeah.
But well, how did you feel when you were holding?
Oh, it's just lovely, aren't they? I mean, it's just so lovely. But I'm a big animal lover, and there is that thing about when they hook onto your finger. Calves do that as well, which is quite nice.
All babies are programmed to, aren't they?
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you are listening on the radio, please do get the GB News app and have a look, because there is this sensational picture of Steve holding that baby lamb, and it's such a lovely one of you, because you just look as though you're enjoying the moment.
Oh yeah, and a little bit of heaven.
And you haven't got your studio makeup on and stuff like that.
There it is.
It's you being utterly natural
and just letting the lamb get on with it.
You're looking up away as though you're thinking, this is just wonderful.
Oh, it's heaven. See, I love stuff like that. Absolute heaven.
Yeah. If you've got any stories for us on, I don't know, connection with animals, I suppose, or just feeling real, a moment in life that sometimes makes you feel real. I know some people just love to go out for a walk very, very early morning, so you can hear the dawn chorus
and see
watch
the mist
sun come
clear
up.
and all that sort of thing.
A lot of people do that. And I spent a while when I was working in Berkshire, on Radio Berkshire actually, talking to an awful lot of the rowers, our Olympic rowers, and they go out very, very early morning to do, just to sort of connect with their sport. But they say, I'm rowing, sorry, I'm doing the rowing action. But they say it's obviously something they have to do to connect with their sport and to get out on the river. But they say there's no doubt that what you do is this wonderful sort of communing with nature. Because, rowing along the riverbank as the sun's coming up, you see all sorts of little animals.
And I think a lot of us experienced that during lockdown. It was one of the benefits of lockdown that we were all getting out for our hourly exercise and what have you. And I think it was nice just to be able to have that bit of peace and quiet, not much traffic on the roads and all the rest of it. But anyway, get in touch with your stories, your pictures, whatever you've got. GB News, GBviews at gbnews.uk. We'd love to hear from you this morning.
But do stay with us, because we've got plenty more to come, including a look at today's biggest stories in the papers. We'll be joined by Dawn Neeson and Petri Hoskin, so don't go anywhere.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls, and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate, and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
Oh, go on.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. We're live across the UK on both your TV and your radio.
Let's bring you up to date with the headlines at 6:33. And the UK is sending a further £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine's armed forces. It follows a Russian rocket strike on a train station in Kramatorsk, which killed at least 52 people, including 5 children.
Trades unions are organising a protest today in solidarity with Ukraine, calling for the immediate withdrawal of Russian troops and a ceasefire. The demonstration in London will also demand that the government admits all refugees seeking to come to the UK without further delay.
The Chancellor's wife has said she will pay UK tax on all her worldwide income. It's after it emerged that Rishi Sunak's multi-millionaire wife, Akshata Murthy, holds non-dom status, which legally exempts her from paying tax on foreign income in the UK.
The number of planned redundancies in the UK has increased by more than 10,000 in a month, according to an employment firm. GQ Littler found the number increased from more than 8,000 in January to 18,000 in February.
About 30,000 vulnerable patients in England with COVID have been treated with highly effective antiviral drugs. The NHS have branded the treatment cutting edge and say they improve symptoms within hours.
Will Smith has been banned from attending the Oscars for 10 years after he slapped Chris Rock on stage. The incident happened when the comedian made a joke about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
And the Queen and other members of the royal family will privately mark the first anniversary of the death of the Duke of Edinburgh today. Prince Philip died this day last year at Windsor Castle, just a couple of months short of his 100th birthday.
Time to go through the papers now. Joining us this morning, broadcaster Petri Hoskin and former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Right, let's start.
That was a year ago. Can you?
No, I can't. The year has
honestly, it was like I was like, is it really a year?
Time flies.
Well, time flies. I bet it hasn't for the Queen particularly.
No, but it just
for everybody else around her, you can't believe it's a year since he died.
No.
I just remember feeling so sad and then being surprised that I was so sad. But I just felt for her as a woman, you know, to lose a man that's been by your side all that time.
And actually, she has visibly aged a lot in the last year.
It's really affected her, hasn't it? I think so. She was incredibly frail.
No, not really.
You lose somebody that important to you. It does have a physical effect as well as
Very
an
much
emotional
so,
one.
yeah.
Of course it does at 96. Anyway, right, what are we starting off with? We are starting off with Rishi Sunak's wife.
Yes. My feeling about this story, and this is a story that you just highlighted in the headlines, it's on the front of the Times, in fact, many of the papers obviously covering this, that Rishi Sunak's wife will now pay UK taxes to save his career. I think this is going to be too late. I think the damage is done. I think that, you know, the reputational damage is done. I think that it doesn't matter now what the Sunaks do. This is not going to work in order to repair Rishi Sunak's
No, but, I mean, if they
reputation.
thought of it years ago...
Well, they should have done.
Shouldn't they?
Why didn't they?
I know.
What on earth were they
You're
thinking?
standing for major political office, and very cleally his ambitions...
His ambitions are
number
way
10.
higher. Yeah, yeah.
Then why didn't somebody say to them? Why didn't they even think themselves? What's the optics on this? You know.
Yes. It's the optics of this, and she's not broken any law.
No.
She's not, but she chose. You have to tick a box on a form to say I am non-domiciled for purposes of tax. I mean, there's no ambiguity to that choice. So the choice was made by his wife, and I'm afraid that he keeps saying, well, what my wife does doesn't reflect on me. Of course it does.
Well, it does.
Absolutely, it does.
In the law, when you get married, everything is shared, isn't it? So, but I mean,
What do I make of it, Dawn?
Well, the I is sort of basically saying, you know, he's fighting for his political survival, and you have to now. The story just develops every single day, and every paper is covering it. You know, you have to question whether he can survive this. I mean, it's very interesting that the Tories aren't closing ranks around him like they did with Boris Johnson and Partygate.
Well, do you not think that they're the ones that have pushed this story?
Well, because someone is out to get him. There are knives in his back, aren't they? And it's not the Labour Party. I think it's coming from within the Tory Party.
It may even have come from number 10.
Well, absolutely,
Well, no,
because
they deny that, though.
They deny it, of course.
What they would do, wouldn't they?
They would do, wouldn't they? But it may. I'm not suggesting that it has. I'm just asking the question.
But you have to think back to Partygate, Petri. I mean, how can we forget it? We're talking about it still. But you know that picture of the garden party taken suspiciously from a room in number 11.
Number 11.
Not suggesting, obviously, Rishi had anything to do with it, but. Who lives at number 11?
I just find it fascinating that there's something about this that is it a question of if you absolutely have got so much money, you simply don't get what ordinary people think.
Yes. Well, yeah, but this whole story, though, as Petri was saying just now, it's like, it's either stupidity or arrogance. Because how did you not see this coming down the line?
I mean, anybody advising them would have said, look, mate,
come clean, especially the
your wife's richer than the Queen. Let's make sure it's clean money.
Totally kosher, as it were.
But the latest development overnight with this one, as the eye's gone into as well, is the green card issue. It's been revealed that he's held a green card up until October 2021. And he was just a chancellor since 2020.
Why does that matter? I don't understand why that matters.
It's sort of like, are you hedging your bets? I mean, it's like, you know, because it meant he could live in America, registered to pay tax in America as well. It's all a bit like, well, why did... I mean, even Boris Johnson didn't know about this. Boris Johnson's been surprised.
I mean, Boris Johnson could live in America, couldn't he? He could be president because he's half American.
Oh, there's a thought.
Oh, crikey.
He was born in America, wasn't he?
But if Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, we would have a Prime Minister who's hedging his bets, as you say, has had a green card until recently.
Yeah, 2021.
And a wife who's not even resident in this country. No. They'd be the lead. They'd be the first.
Well, this is the thing. So, I mean, how can he now?
Well, I tell you what really annoys me about this. Do you remember the vicious indignation when it was revealed that Gary Barlow and Jimmy Carr were using perfectly legal vehicles?
Yes.
Actually, probably their accountants did it without particularly their knowledge, and they were vilified by this government. They were torn to shreds. They were embarrassed. They were cancelled. You know, all of those things happened to them. And yet, Rishi Sunak is saying, but leave my wife alone.
That was under David Cameron, wasn't it?
It doesn't matter. You know, governments are having a go at people for legally avoiding tax. And yes, this is exactly what she's doing, legally.
Let us know what you think. A lot of people yesterday supported her.
Yeah, I know. It would be very, very different, though, wouldn't it, if she had volunteered to do this, what she's just done. She's going to pay, I think, sort of tax twice.
Well, that's, I mean...
On her international... She's
going forward.
I'm paying UK tax on UK earnings, and I pay international tax on international earnings, and that's completely legal. What she's going to do now is pay UK tax on those international earnings as well.
Will she still have to pay international tax?
I don't know.
Well, this is the situation, because she is an Indian citizen. She was paying her taxes in India. Yeah. So does that mean she's now going to stop doing that, therefore depriving the Indian tax system?
Well, have they confirmed that she was paying her taxes in India?
Yes,
they have now.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, it was all above board.
No, because there was questions over the Cayman Islands.
Oh, well...
Yes, there are those.
Well, that's the whole green card link, isn't it? It's like, because, you know, the American, Caribbean islands are tax havens and interesting. But
Wouldn't you do it, Dawn? Wouldn't you do it if there was a legal tax loophole? Wouldn't you use it?
What's an interesting question?
You're not telling me your accountant doesn't go through your stuff in fine detail.
We were discussing our accountants before we came in. You've got a Rottweiler.
Yeah, and won't let me get away with the coffee, which I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because it keeps everything clean.
Not that you tried to get away with that.
No, but if I say, look, I had a coffee at 10 o'clock because I was on my way to a meeting, he'd say, well, I'm sorry, you would have had that coffee anyway. Yeah. You're not having it because you're on the way to the meeting.
Not charging it against work. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But I'd have been at home, I say.
I don't drink coffee.
But you come from the newspaper. You never ask questions about that.
No.
Before we run out of time...
Oh, gosh.
Let's have a look. Petri, can we have a look at the Telegraph? We're going to be talking about this in a minute as well, but Will Smith, because it's a big talking point. I was with a couple of people last night who said, they're glad he kept his Oscar, but they're very glad he's been banned for a decade.
Yeah, I think that this banning from the Oscar parties, basically, because he's already stepped down from the Academy, hadn't he? So
he could still go to the ceremony, though.
Yeah, but he's not. This is not going to happen for him now. But I think it's a bigger deal than this. I think his brand is now toxic.
Yeah.
And I look at him differently. I used to love Will Smith. I loved his movies. Watched probably all of them. And I feel a bit about him now, genuinely I do. But I also think, and I was saying this to Dawn earlier, that the punditry that he would have to do on a new film, none of them will be talking about the film. No. So he's actually a busted flush. Isn't he? Yeah. He's of no use.
The first question you're going to ask is, tell us about the slap.
Tell us about the slap.
What happened?
Yeah.
Why
did you do it? How did you feel?
And for that very
film
reason,
will be
he rendered himself unemployable.
Pretty much so.
What director is really going to want to touch somebody who won't be able to do interviews?
Exactly.
He won't be the best ambassador for the movie because that's what people will think of.
And especially anything to do with children or anything like that. He's just not... I think
There is a school of thought that said, well, he was defending his wife. Not everybody feels that against him. I think there is.
There isn't.
It was a very innocuous comment from Chris.
I think it was innocuous, and he was laughing at it before he caught his wife's eye.
I mean, she gave him that look that women give their other halves, and it's like.
But then there's that other video that's emerged of her laughing as he slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah,
which I think
that's a bit gamey.
Very off.
And it's the fact that he effed and blinded.
As well.
Yelled it, which was almost worse than the slap itself.
It was, because there was sheer anger in that, wasn't there? I mean, the slap, a lot of people going, well, that's a bit
If that had been in the street, it was assault. It was assault.
Yeah, it was.
But Chris didn't want to press charges, did he? So he didn't want to complain.
Not yet.
So.
Not yet. He's
considering his options.
Gosh.
He's reflecting.
I can imagine they are.
I think he did brilliantly to keep going because
Oh,
I
he
would
was
have burst
amazing.
into tears
Yes,
and run off the stage.
Yeah.
A horrible thing to have
Yeah.
to, and then he had to pull himself back together.
Yeah.
Oh, he did really
Incredible.
well.
Yeah,
He did really
incredible.
well.
But when you say about, you know, sort of like, you know, he's going to be cancelled in Hollywood, they all standed and gave him a standing ovation with applause when he was announced as the winner of the Oscar.
He's toxic now.
The
I don't think that's
hypocrisy.
Well, but then in that circumstance, what would you? I mean, I asked this question to someone. They said, "Well, what would you do if you're there? I mean, you're just going to."
Well, if you felt that strongly about it, you go, hold on, let's just slap someone.
You're going to stand up and applaud, aren't you? I mean, it's...
But this is showbiz and everybody wants
But they
to
may
die.
also have thought it was a joke at the time, or they may have not realised that it was. Not everybody saw it, perhaps, or saw it the way it was.
Don't know. Just a very quick look at the Cornwall space race, Dawn.
Oh,
in the
thanks,
Star.
Stephen. Yes, I've read this story very thoroughly. I understand every word of it. Not. OK, any case, this is the Cornish are taking to space to catch... It's not just the Cornish, it's the UK. A satellite that will track pirate ships. We're not talking Johnny Depp-type pirates here. Track ships to combat terrorism, smuggling and piracy to be blasted into orbit from the West Country. It's a modified Boeing 747-400, will take off from Cornwall Airport in Newquay, because it's one of the few airports that can do this sort of thing, evidently, and they are going to be tracking shipping from space to keep our seas safe.
Oh.
Ooh, ah, my heart is.
Excuse me, I'm half Cornish.
Are you?
Yeah.
It is very important.
My father was Cornish.
Was he?
Can you speak it?
No.
But my auntie won awards for her Cornish pasties.
Oh, there you go.
And she was mayor of Truro.
Oh,
There you go.
that's
There's
wonderful.
a Cornish, you know.
Great Cornish link.
If you are the current mayor of Truro,
Yes.
please get in touch.
And do you make Cornish pasties?
Oh.
Oh, Auntie Jen made the best Cornish pasties. She won awards.
There was a big debate about whether Cornish pasty should have its crust upwards or lying on its side, wasn't there?
Was there?
One's a Cornish pasty, one's something else.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought it had to be on the top.
Well, the pastry was only ever to protect it used to be so solid that they'd throw it down the mines for the miners, and they would break open the sort of concrete shell and eat the insides. It was you were never meant to actually eat the.
So it's like an original. It was like a natural Tupperware thing then.
Yes,
Yeah, basically.
You could also eat it. Yeah.
Who knew?
It would bounce.
But there is a difference, and I can't remember what it is, between a pasty that's got the crust along the top or that's lying flat and it's around there.
If you know, GBViews at gbnews.uk. That is a very important issue of the day. Ladies, thank you. We shall catch up with you both a little bit later on, Petri and Dawn.
Thank you. So let's go through the headlines now, shall we, to bring you up to date with what's going on. The UK is sending a further £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine's armed forces. That follows a Russian rocket strike on a train station in Kramatorsk, which killed at least 52 people, including 5 children.
Trade unions are organising a day of protest in solidarity with Ukraine today, calling for the immediate withdrawal of Russian troops and a ceasefire. It's a demonstration in London which will also demand the government admits all refugees who want to come to the UK without further delay.
The Chancellor's wife has said she will now pay UK tax on her worldwide income. That's after it emerged that Rishi Sunak's multi-millionaire wife, Akshata Murthy, holds non-domicile status, which exempts her from paying tax here on foreign income.
About 30,000 vulnerable patients in England with COVID have been treated with a very effective antiviral drug. The NHS have branded the treatment cutting edge and says they improve symptoms within hours.
The Queen and other members of the royal family are expected to privately mark the first anniversary of the Duke of Edinburgh's death. Prince Philip died on this day last year at Windsor Castle, just months short of his 100th birthday.
So let's talk more Will Smith. Showbiz Queen Stephanie Tetchy is here. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
Is this fair, then, a 10-year ban from the ceremony?
It seems a bit harsh.
Do you think?
It does seem a bit harsh, but I think the Oscars had to take the power back from Will, because I think Will thought he was smart last week. Well, not smart, but he thought the best thing to do would be to resign. So obviously he's taken that option from the Oscars boards to say, OK, we're actually going to expel him or we're going to put him in a ban. So he literally took that sting from it. So they've gone one step further. And, you know, the Academy have had to, in the statement, they say that, you know what, they didn't deal with it adequately on the night. You know, they kind of let him get away with it on the night. So for them to now issue this 10-year ban, for me personally, it feels like Will Smith's career died yesterday in Hollywood as we know it. I do believe he's a man of great willpower and I do believe he will come back, but effectively I feel like his career's been tarnished now. 10 years, he's going to be 64. Obviously, 64 was not too old in Hollywood, but that's a big time. That's a lot of roles where you will never be able to get that accolade on stage again for the Oscars. And even though it's just the Oscars, it will have a trickling effect with other
Apparently,
awards.
they've said that, you know, he'll still be eligible for being considered for an Oscar, but he'll never be able to come and receive it.
Yeah, not even virtually either. And I think as well, if you're a big-time Hollywood film director and you're looking for a big guy, you know, someone like Will Smith, before he would have been in the running for it, but every Hollywood director wants an Oscar or to be at least put forward for it. Are you really going to go for Will Smith now, knowing that your film more than likely might not get nominated?
I'd receive it. No, would I receive it? No, you wouldn't receive it on his behalf, would you? That's the problem. His brand is tainted.
Yeah.
And Hollywood doesn't forget, does it?
No, it doesn't. You know, but Will has come out since, you know, the announcement, and he said that he accepts and he respects the decision, but I can imagine privately it must be quite of a sad moment for him.
Well, it should have been the highlight of his career. It's turned into a breaking point.
And, you know, because he's managed to keep the Oscar, but now every time he looks at that Oscar and, you know, every time all of us thinks about his win, we're going to think of that slap now. So it's very much a tainted moment for him. And also, he's now had 2 film productions, which he's doing with Netflix, which has been put on pause as well.
Really?
So already his work is already taking a hit for it.
Is this the beginning of problems in his private life? Do you think? I mean, I know there've been issues.
Yeah.
But I mean, you were saying last week that you think, you know, maybe this is indicative of something else.
Yeah, because even this week there's been more videos, private videos of Will and Jade of her filming him, and he's like, "Don't film me," and all this stuff. So we're really getting a bit of a snapshot of their marriage and stuff. But you know, I think they actually enjoy the toxicity of their marriage, and they're not going to split. They'll stay together.
They say they have a sort of open marriage.
Yeah, they do have an open marriage, and I think they've just got this understanding between them. But I think as well, it doesn't mean that it's not affecting both of them mentally, even though they're not going to give up on their marriage. It doesn't mean that it's a healthy one either. And this one, you know, a lot of people are saying Jada wasn't actually happy with the slap because she's a woman that can actually defend herself. She's not no wallflower. So I know behind closed doors it could be a whole different bunch of conversations.
Oh yeah, you can just imagine they'll be blaming each other for what happened.
But I was quite surprised as well with the statement, because I know everyone's been defending Chris Rock with this statement, but you know, with the Academy as well, I think they now need to address what performers are going to be staying on stage. I know we want free speech and stuff, but clearly we're in this kind of generation now where free speech is not kosher anymore. So there has
it's
to
just
be
a bit of comedy, isn't it? Oddly enough, I saw some clips come up of some roastings that Chris Rock was involved in, which were fierce. I mean, he was dishing it out, but he was also having it dished to him, and they were fierce.
Yeah. That's the name of comedy, but now we've just got too many egos in Hollywood at the moment, and I think everyone's quite sensitive. There's too many issues that's been brought to the forefront, whether it's gender pay, whether it's Me Too, whether it's race. Everyone, it's like walking on thin ice now. So I think the Academies next year, it won't be as exciting as, well, this year was.
Yeah.
It wasn't exciting until that moment.
Yeah.
So it was really pretty lacklustre until that moment.
And, you know, they say they're going to go above and beyond now to protect their performers and stuff, which means
What does that mean? A glass screen or something?
So it means
a line of security men around the stage.
Yeah,
so it means more viewers might be switching off, because as we know, the viewers were dwindling for all the Oscars. So next year, if they're trying to be proper PC,
I haven't seen the movie yet. For which Will got his Oscar. Is it really good?
I loved it. You know, he's done lots of films, but I
just
think
remind us what it is.
It's King Richard.
King Richard.
Yes.
And
so he portrays Richard Williams, who's Venus and Serena's father, and the film documents their rise to tennis stardom and how he was really influential in their career. And we get more about his character, because he's always been an elusive character.
Yeah.
You know, we know he's behind the success, but who is he?
Yeah.
And we see more of that in the film, and Will done a great job, but it's just a shame now because no one's really talking about the film or the big win of the film, which was for him and his moment, which is all a big shame.
I want to see it, definitely. But...
Yes, I don't.
No, why, Stephen?
No, I don't.
Are you on a Will Smith ban now?
Yeah,
with
it's
his
just,
films?
I've just gone right off him. Just gone right off him. I can't look at him in the same way.
See, I can separate the man from the man in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like I can watch a Kevin Spacey film.
Oh, see, that's the thing, I struggle with that.
The man was... I'm sorry, I thought everybody in my ear is going, oh!
I have to say, before all that
Kevin
came out...
Spacey is an incredible actor.
He might be. I met him a few years ago, before all that came out, when they were promoting House of Cards.
Yeah.
What an unpleasant man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's
Really
good in House of
unpleasant.
Cards.
Might be.
The only person I can't do that with is R. Kelly because of all the abuse. I used to
Yeah, no,
love his
yeah.
music. I can't do that. I think Will Smith, I could probably watch his films again, but the slap will always be at the back
Michael
of my
Jackson
mind.
was still alive, wouldn't you go?
Yeah.
To a concert, you would.
Gosh, I
course
think I would. He
How
was
could
like
you
the
not?
greatest entertainer of all time, but that's Hollywood for you. It's so full of so much scandals and...
Always was.
Yeah.
It's just that we didn't hear about them.
And now we do.
And now we do.
We can watch it, we can tweet it, we can share it.
Everywhere.
We can do all of it.
Stephanie, thank you. We're going to catch you again a bit later
See you
on.
later.
But stay with us here on Breakfast. Coming up, plenty more to come, including a further look at our exclusive interview with the Prime Minister.
Good morning. Alex Deacon here with your latest weather forecast from the Met Office. This weekend, dry and fine for most of us. It is going to be on the chilly side, however, with frosty conditions again tomorrow morning. We've got a little ridge of high pressure dominating, areas of low pressure either side, cold air that's been with us for a number of days stuck in here, but some milder air isn't too far away, and that's going to arrive next week. But for the time being, this weekend, as I said, it is a chilly one. We've got a few showers here and there, chiefly of rain over North Wales, the odd one for Northern Ireland, a mixture of the showers across Scotland, Northern Scotland in particular, with some rain and hill snow. But that snow could come down to low levels across the far north of Scotland at times. One or two scattered showers through the afternoon across the Midlands, maybe southern England, but for the vast majority, dry and bright. Yes, it will cloud over a little bit, and it's not particularly warm, but at least that strong wind has eased down. Still fairly brisk winds across the northeast, still bringing some more showers here overnight. Again, wintry showers as well, with some sleet and snow, perhaps even down to low levels. So it could just turn a little icy. Elsewhere, though, it's a dry night with clear skies, and that is allowing the blue to take hold of the map. So it is going to be a frosty one tomorrow morning. Temperatures even in towns and cities close to or actually bang on freezing, and rural areas will be a little bit below. So yes, a cold start tomorrow yet again, but again the sun comes up, the frost will melt, and for most it's a fine day with decent spells of sunshine. Even the showers across northern Scotland tending to fade. We will see cloud increasing across the west, perhaps late in the day. Bit of rain just trickling into the west of Northern Ireland. But again, most places dry. Yes, it's still chilly for the time of year, but again, the winds will be light, getting that sunshine. It doesn't feel too bad. And if you're fed up with the cold, better news lies ahead, because these weather fronts moving in will bring cloud and showers next week, but they will also bring milder air, so turning a little warmer. Goodbye.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children, and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
The Prime Minister tells GB News exclusively that he was not put on a ventilator when he contracted COVID-19 2 years ago.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock on Saturday, April the 9th. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
And we're live across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio, of course.
So, coming up for you today, in an exclusive interview with GB News, Boris Johnson explains just how unwell he felt when he was admitted to hospital 2 years ago with COVID-19.
Whatever happened to me was really mild by comparison with the experience of so many other people, so many thousands of other people in this country.
The UK is sending another £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine's armed forces after a deadly Russian strike on a train station killed at least 50 people. We'll bring you the latest.
Rishi Sunak's wife says she will pay UK tax on her worldwide income after coming under fire for holding non-dom status. So, is it a political ploy to save her husband's political career? Let us know what you think.
And are you one of millions of people whose travel plans are being disrupted? We'll be speaking to a travel expert about what you need to know if you're travelling by land, sea or air today.
Yes, so do get in touch if you're doing any of that or anything you want to talk about. We would absolutely love to hear from you. Love to know where you're watching us from today. gbviews@gbnews.uk or send us a tweet at gbnews. So, in an exclusive interview with GB News, the Prime Minister has spoken openly about contracting COVID 2 years ago, and he's praising NHS staff for their care, but he's also denied that he was ever on a ventilator.
Anybody who's had COVID, and there are many, many thousands of people who have been through it in the country today, will tell you that it can be pretty debilitating. It does put you flat on your back. That's what happened to me. It was in the early stages of our understanding of it. I went into hospital, and it was certainly true that my oxygen levels, for whatever reason, were pretty low. And they put the oximeter on your forefinger, and they monitor you very, very carefully. And they were absolutely brilliant. But for some reason, they couldn't seem to get my oxygen levels to get up to the levels that they wanted. And you should be roughly sort of 94% or above 94% oxygenation of the blood. And I think when I went in, I was in the 80s somewhere, I think. And I then had a pretty groggy night, and went down even lower. But as I've said before, the NHS was absolutely amazing.
Well, you can watch that exclusive interview with the PM in full on Saturday Selection at 10 o'clock here on GB News. GB News.
Get it right. Actually, talking of GB Views, Sally has viewed in, and she says, I get angry when I hear him discuss how ill he's been with COVID, and he was still happy to open us up in late 2020, leading to even more death in 2021.
Julie says, I wonder if this will help win back support for him. Personally, I see no redemption. Action speaks louder than words, and people are struggling, and he needs to take it seriously.
Farah says, lockdown was tough, but it saved lives. That's in itself nowadays a controversial comment, isn't it? I still find it difficult to accept what he says, though his inaction cost thousands of people, family members and friends to the virus.
Kelly says, there is a lack of sympathy in this country. Our leader was in hospital and all people can do is complain about him. What happened to compassion? Which is, well, I have to say, when he was in hospital, I did feel very, very sorry for him. And people I know...
Because at that time, because it was so early on, all the reports from everywhere, all around the world, were that this is fatal if you get it. And if you have to be rushed to intensive care, which he did, then it's very, very dangerous indeed. No, we were all scared at the time. It's amazing how things have moved on. I mean, today just there's news that these new antiviral drugs are apparently relieving symptoms within hours. And that must be sort of the same sort of, hopefully, the treatment that the Queen got, or maybe certainly what President Trump got.
Yeah.
New antiviral drugs.
yes. There was something, this strange cocktail.
Because he too was ill at a time when we were still very, very frightened about the fact that it was fatal in so many cases. And yet he came out almost dancing down Pennsylvania Avenue, didn't he?
Yeah. Matt says, if he really cared, he'd invest in the NHS to save more lives. Easy to say thank you, NHS, when you'll never be at the very bottom and in need of help.
Tom says there's no economic health without the health of the people. Despite going through a hospitalisation, I fail to see what lessons Boris has learned, considering 12 months later, we're still in a mess.
Yeah, and Darren says this makes Partygate more insulting. If he was that ill, it's ridiculous that his team was celebrating. We can't have people making the laws, breaking the very laws they've made.
Cynthia says he can talk and talk and talk. Have you read that one out?
No.
No. It's the only thing he's good at. The aftermath of the past 2 years says different. So people are judging him still quite harshly, I guess.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people, whenever Partygate is mentioned, a lot of you get in touch and say, just forget about Partygate, stop Boris bashing, let's get on with it. But these are your thoughts. So if you want to defend the PM...
Unless you... Yes, exactly. Unless you lost somebody during that period, or you have very painful memories of that period, and you think, heck, that lot in number 10 was still having parties. Your afternoon with the Lambs has resonated through the country. Thank you for getting in touch. Stephen had an amazing afternoon yesterday.
Lambing,
yeah, bringing little lambs into the world, which was rather nice. And you said it gave you a lovely moment connecting with nature.
Just real life, real bit of reality, living in the now, as they say.
Don't get a bit too deep. Yeah,
it's lovely.
Have you? We were asking basically, have you any of those wonderful moments with animals or with nature? And Gavin says, I have great connection with my 2-year-old bulldog Guinness. I can be eating a sandwich or snack anywhere in the house, and he'll find me just to sit down and wait to have a bit of my food. And if you're listening on the radio at the moment, I do apologise, but we're looking once more at the lovely pictures of Stephen yesterday afternoon with that little lamb and another one who's just been born taking his first tentative steps.
First steps. Have a look download the GB News app if you're listening on the radio, and you can find Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on there and have a look.
I tell you what, Tilly's gone one better than lambs. Hi, Tilly. She says, my family live in Irby in Cheshire, and we have 2 llamas, Salt and Pepper. They're great fun, and we love to take care of them and have family around to pet them.
Oh, llamas are lovely. Have you ever been walking? I've been walking with alpacas.
Yeah.
Which is a lovely...
It's a sort of llama, isn't it?
It's well, they're similar.
Small, yeah.
Similar. But you can in the lakes where I'm from, there's a lovely spot, and you can sort of hire the alpacas and take them for a walk on the beach.
Really?
And it's such a lovely thing to do. They're quite feisty.
Yeah, yes, I think they are.
But it's a really lovely
Don't they have a reputation for sort of spitting?
Oh, they spit?
Yeah, they do spit.
They do spit. Or you get spat at. Llamas spit as well. But it's
llama
just quite sweet. They're real characters. It's a lovely thing to do. Sandra, me and my husband own a racehorse called Full Petal Jacket.
Very good name.
Very good name, Sandra. He's less than a year old, but we love popping over to the stables to check in with him and the other horses. He loves polo mints, even though he shouldn't.
Yeah. My little dog likes Maltesers. She gets one a month if she's lucky. Yeah. She chases it. It takes her ages to even get it in her mouth properly. Because it keeps rolling away, and she's going at it like that. It's very... And the other thing she likes, and again, honestly, I do not misfeed her, it's just occasionally, is poppadoms.
Really?
Yeah. A whole poppadom, the crackly kind. She'll have a real go at them. She'll get her way through it, but it's amazing watching it. It takes her, a couple of hours to get to the end of it. She
Well, I
loves
never
it.
did.
I think she just likes anything I like, actually.
Oh,
she just
could be a bit
watches
of
me
that.
and thinks, I'll have a go at that.
It's things with
Stops
cats.
for you.
It's the dreamies, if we're allowed to mention them. What is it about those things?
They've probably got catnip in them or something.
I don't know what they've got.
I'm
in
not
them.
even sure what catnip is.
It's like a mint herb catnip.
And it drives them.
Similar to mint. It
They'll
drives
do
them
anything
mad.
for it.
Oh, crackers.
Is it safe for them to eat?
Oh, yeah. Like catnip. But it's but no, with that you just shake the bag, and it doesn't matter where he is in the house, garden, anywhere. When I couldn't find him a few years ago, when he'd gone out and hadn't come home for a few hours, I was literally walking around the streets in my dressing gown, shaking a bag of dreamies. He turned up eventually. That's what you have to do.
Oh.
They go mad for him.
Cats just do what cats do, don't they?
Oh, yeah, whatever suits them.
Speaking of which, I have to say, I hope my sister won't mind me sharing this story. I won't say which sister it is, but she's got this gorgeous, unbelievable cat who rules the roost. And the other day, somebody from the village came with his collar, which had gone missing. And apparently, unknown to my sister, he has another family.
No.
And he goes to this lady's house down the road and sleeps on her bed. And so one day, she managed to find that or he left his collar behind or something, or she looked at his collar and thought, who is this cat really? And traced my sister and brought the collar back. And so,
brought the collar back, but not the cat.
Oh no, the cat is regularly. I mean, my sister had no reason to believe that occasionally he goes off and sleeps on somebody else's bed.
Yeah, I bet they all do that. Isn't it terrible?
You just don't know with cats, and if they can get into your house through the cat flap,
little traitors.
They can do anything, aren't they?
Terrible. They get fed twice. No wonder Timmy's getting a bit porky.
Well, there you are.
Well, the neighbours feeding.
It's not your fault.
Oh dear. Anyway, yeah.
Shall we do some work?
Oh, we better had. It's getting to that time. It's 11 minutes past 7. These are some of the headlines for you today.
The UK is sending a further £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine's armed forces. It follows a Russian rocket strike on a train station in Kramatorsk, which killed at least 52 people, including 5 children.
The Chancellor's wife has said she will pay UK tax on all her worldwide income. It's after it emerged that multi-millionaire Akshat Murty holds non-dom status, which exempted her from paying tax on foreign income.
And Will Smith has been banned from attending the Oscars for 10 years after he slapped host Chris Rock on stage. The incident happened when the comedian made a joke about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
And the Queen and other members of the royal family are expected to privately mark the first anniversary of the Duke of Edinburgh's death today. He died this day last year at Windsor Castle, just months short of his 100th birthday. Now, Labour's urging the government to intervene amid warnings that holidaymakers travelling over the Easter period are likely to face prolonged delays and severe disruption.
And yet they knew it was coming, didn't they? Travel expert Simon Calder joins us now. Lovely to see you. And you're usually stuck at an airport in the freezing cold or something like that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you spotted that, Anne. I'm actually going to the airport later on today because I'm hoping to fly.
Oh.
But I'm booked on British Airways, so you never know.
Where to?
I'm going to Milan Malpensa, which for a lot of days this week has been winning the most cancelled destination from the UK award.
What, so you're deliberately putting yourself out there?
No, I booked it weeks ago. I didn't know. Anyway, so Milan Malpensa, British Airways, they've cancelled a couple of flights. I've been going through the cancellations.
What's going on?
Right, well,
I mean, we knew that it was the school holidays. We knew that people were going to want to take their children and their whole families abroad. People are thirsty to get out there and travel again. So what's going on?
I'm going to take you, Anne, 4 months back. The UK had just introduced the most draconian, the most complex, the most expensive travel restrictions of any European country. You come in fully boosted, fully vaccinated, you would still have to take a pre-departure test, a post-arrival PCR. You'd need to self-isolate till you got the result from that. The prospect that 4 months from now, from then, we would be no restrictions, let's all go on holiday, frankly look quite remote. So the 2 biggest airlines in the UK, British Airways and EasyJet, did not do the recruiting that they might have done. Neither did the big airports, in particular Manchester, of course. And as a result of that, when suddenly the brakes were off, everybody thought, well, we haven't had a flipping holiday for 2 years, so let's go abroad. Well, the airlines were very happy to put lots of flights on sale, and then they kind of think afterwards about how they were going to do it. And so therefore, I'm just looking at the cancellations today. I've got 72 on British Airways.
No.
EasyJet has just gone up to, I think, 48.
So why are they having to cancel them?
Right. They simply do not have enough staff. Now, British Airways say, we cancelled most of these a couple of weeks ago. In fact, though, I'm just looking, and because I checked them the night before, see what the cancellations are, and then I check them first thing in the morning before I come and talk to you. And I am seeing about 40 cancellations overnight. I'm seeing places like Nice, like Malaga, like Salzburg, really key destinations for people, for families wanting to get away, added to that. I'm seeing on Twitter messages like this from Chris. British Airways, how can you cancel a flight at 6 in the morning when we're already in a taxi to the airport? No hotel, 2 kids, disgrace.
So what happens to these holiday makers? What options have they got?
Good question, and thankfully the law is absolutely straightforward. So if you are in a taxi going to the airport, you find that your flight to Nice is cancelled, that's not your problem, it's British Airways' problem, because they have to find you some way of getting to Nice the same day on other airlines, maybe even on Eurostar trains to Paris and then flying from there. They've got to get you there. They then, while you're waiting, have to get you meals and so on. If you do stay overnight, and you really shouldn't have to, they've got to pay for your hotel, and then they have to hand you cash compensation as well.
Wow.
That's easier said than done, though, when this is probably the busiest day we have seen since New Year.
If you're in the taxi going to the airport, you get to the airport, there's nobody behind the British Airways desk, or other airlines are available. There's never anybody there to deal with you, is there?
Well, British Airways, I'm sure, would say they've got plenty of people at the airport, on the helpline, online and so on. But if you can demonstrate that you have made the best possible attempt that you can, then if you've got a credit card with enough headroom, you march over and book yourself an alternative flight. And if it costs £500...
You charge it to them?
You charge it to them, yes. It's very messy, it's very expensive. I mean, EasyJet not doing so badly, but I am seeing a late cancellation, for instance, Luton to Palma this afternoon, Gatwick to Nice, Marseille, Alicante.
See, as you say that, those are people's holidays.
Yes, they are.
Been looking forward to it.
Yep, and we've got about 15,000 people today so far who are not on the planes that they originally booked. Some of them, yes, would have been told about it in advance and made other arrangements. Others are just literally in the taxi going to the airport and they think, oh no.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
How quickly can they turn this around? Because the pressure is on now, and I'm being very selfish, Simon, because I'm going away in six weeks today.
OK, I'll just make a couple of calls and I'll...
if you can sort it out.
Yeah, fantastic. You'll be absolutely fine. 6 weeks today takes us to mid-May.
Yeah.
May bank holiday?
No, 21st.
OK, good. OK, right, so that'll be absolutely fine. Everything's going to be better by May. One huge problem, and that's why we sort of saw a dip midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, in the number of cancellations, is that everybody wants to travel at the weekend over the Easter holidays. Once those are out the way, everyone can kind of regroup. If there were to be, that if there are going to be cancellations, they will tend to put them on the routes with very multiple frequencies, like our old friend Milan Malpensa, and get everybody where they need to be. So it will improve. The airports, meanwhile, I mean, I thought it was very, very blunt. Charlie Cornish, Chief Executive of Manchester Airports Group, yesterday coming out and saying, we literally haven't got enough staff. We're doing the best we can, but turn up 3 hours early and we'll try and make it better in time for Stephen to go away in May.
There are always people walking around with walkie-talkies doing nothing. I'd love to know what those people with walkie-talkies actually do.
They're keeping the operation running.
Well, they are something like that, because you feel like collaring one, or you do every so often, say, well, aren't there more people on the check-in desks?
Well, you
they
go
go,
and find them.
I'll find out, and they walk off with their walkie-talkie and never come back again.
Objection, Your Honour. Look, I'm used to work in aviation, and it's a tough old ask. You know, if you want a definition of the word thankless task, get any job at any airport.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And look, during the pandemic, lots of people have reassessed, and a lot of them have probably thought, do I want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go and work in a high-stress environment where people are going to shout at me? And they probably thought, Actually, I don't. I'll get an easier job.
Just briefly, we're almost out of time, but for those people who are thinking of planning one of those last-minute escapes, which are always very nice, and think, oh, well, I can't, it's not worth risking a plane now. I'll go somewhere in the UK, I'll drive, or I'll get on a train.
Yeah.
It's not much better, is it?
Careful of the trains, particularly over Easter West Coast Main Line is going to be completely stuck. But I would simply head north to beautiful Northumberland or the Scottish borders. Absolutely gorgeous. You won't get the crowds, and you should have a lovely time.
Well, there you go. Simon, it is a joy to see you. Good luck with the flight.
Thank you very much.
Where are you flying from?
From London Heathrow.
Oh, from Heathrow.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Keep us posted. Thanks, Simon.
I must say, I'd feel very low if I was in a long queue and it was Simon Calder in front of me. I thought if he has to stand in a long queue, we're all stuffed.
Yeah, we've had it.
Yeah.
We've totally had it. There you go. Stay with us. We've got plenty more to come, including the latest from the current F1 qualifying and how you should hedge your bets at the Grand National.
Good morning. Alex Deacon here with your latest weather forecast from the Met Office. This weekend, dry and fine for most of us. It is going to be on the chilly side, however, with frosty conditions again tomorrow morning. We've got a little ridge of high pressure dominating, areas of low pressure either side, cold air that's been with us for a number of days stuck in here, but some milder air isn't too far away, and that's going to arrive next week. But for the time being, this weekend, as I said, it is a chilly one. We've got a few showers here and there, chiefly of rain over North Wales, the odd one for Northern Ireland, a mixture of the showers across Scotland, Northern Scotland in particular, with some rain and hill snow. But that snow could come down to low levels across the far north of Scotland at times. One or two scattered showers through the afternoon across the Midlands, maybe southern England, but for the vast majority, dry and bright. Yes, it will cloud over a little bit, and it's not particularly warm, but at least that strong wind has eased down. Still fairly brisk winds across the northeast, still bringing some more showers here overnight. Again, wintry showers as well, with some sleet and snow, perhaps even down to low levels. So it could just turn a little icy. Elsewhere, though, it's a dry night with clear skies, and that is allowing the blue to take hold of the map. So it is going to be a frosty one tomorrow morning. Temperatures even in towns and cities close to or actually bang on freezing, and rural areas will be a little bit below. So yes, a cold start tomorrow yet again, but again the sun comes up, the frost will melt, and for most it's a fine day with decent spells of sunshine. Even the showers across northern Scotland tending to fade. We will see cloud increasing across the west, perhaps late in the day. Bit of rain just trickling into the west of Northern Ireland. But again, most places dry. Yes, it's still chilly for the time of year, but again, the winds will be light, getting that sunshine. It doesn't feel too bad. And if you're fed up with the cold, better news lies ahead, because these weather fronts moving in will bring cloud and showers next week, but they will also bring milder air, so turning a little warmer. Goodbye.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children, and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London EC3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
It is 7:24. Good morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on your TV and on your radio and on the internet and on the app.
Yeah, and all over the world as well. So,
yes,
as I keep saying, because I love to see your pictures, if you are watching us from wherever in the world, do, let us know. And if you can, take a picture of what you can see from your bedroom window or something. It'd be really nice to know.
Yes, and
where you are, what you're doing.
Then if you're listening on the radio, it gives you a good excuse to get home, download the app, and you can sort of find the show on the app and then have a look at the pictures as well.
That too.
Let's look at the big sporting events taking place this weekend. As always, Mr. Aidan McGee is here. Good morning.
Morning to you. Hi.
Is there an hour of this of the day that you're not on GB News at the moment?
No,
last night.
I was. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but you have to remember, I was talking to one of the makeup artists through there. She wasn't working this time last year, and she said she'll never again take for granted the fact that she can put the hours in because she was doing nothing this time last year. I had a very listless back end of 2021. So if they can,
I mean, do you remember that time? Yeah. All the sporting fixtures closed down.
Yeah,
absolutely no sport.
I know. So I wasn't in demand, put it that way. No, it wasn't quite that simple. But it was very, very listless. I was waking up some days thinking, what am I doing today?
Yeah.
Very destructive. In all seriousness, it is. So I'm grateful for a few things. It is, yeah. For you lot saying that I'm working too much, I'll take that.
Oh, not too much. No, you keep going. We love it.
Busy day for the Grand National today. Obviously, a huge day. Have you got any bets on?
No.
It's early in the day. It's not until 5:15. But I felt this story last year. I don't know if you remember. Rachel Blackmore became the first woman to win the Grand National. I think because of world events, it kind of got submerged a little bit, but that to me was a massive thing. And she's on the same horse this year, Minella Times, trying to win it for the second time in a row. It has been done recently. Tiger Roll won it he was on a roll, obviously, in 2018 and 2019. So 70,000 people expected at the race, £150 million is set to be wagered throughout the day. The betting shops are open as they weren't this time last year. And we're talking girl power. We're there with Rachel Blackmore. There's a grey mare called Snow Leopardess who actually gave birth to a foal during the 2-year break from racing, and she's bidding to become the first mother to win the Grand National. So stories everywhere, but plenty of time to get your bets on as well.
Who's favourite?
Favourite is, I would think, the Manila Times at the moment. Right. But that's at the moment, but it changes throughout the day. You get different injuries. I mean, the horses drop out as well. We've had three. We've had Commodore, Schoolboy Hours and Romain de Sanam. They took the final spots in the race yesterday after 3 dropouts. Also, the favourite list doesn't count for a great deal in the National. It's a national hunt event, therefore there's jumps. There are pedigree horses who can fall at the first fence. You can also get complete nag outsiders winning it on occasion. I won, as I mentioned last week, with Party Politics 30 years ago this year. Oh. I've never bet on a National ever since then, just to preserve the integrity and the sanctity of that bet.
Win.
One bet, one win, 100%. I bowed out at the age of 14.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
It's fair enough. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't know where to put my money.
I went to the Grand National once with Russell Grant.
Oh, did you?
And I said, look, you predict things. Here's the foot list. Pick a winner for me. And he said, I'd never do that for my own profit. But I'll do it for you. I'll just tell you if I get a funny feeling. So he looked at I feel a celestial ping about that one.
That one.
He called it a celestial ping. I've never got and that one and that.
That's a good name for a horse.
So it's celestial ping. It is because I put money on every one of them. They all won.
Wow. Talk about betting.
Russell.
Talk about betting on the hoof.
Horoscopes, but my God, I believe in Russell Grant.
Yeah. Look,
golf.
Yeah, bit of golf, bit of Tiger.
Yes, exactly. From Tiger Roll, the horse, to Tiger Woods. Now, he shot this marvellous 71, 1 under par on the first day. Not quite at it on the second one. Decent all the same, 3 under par. But this guy's Scotty Scheffler, a fellow US golfer. He's in the lead at the Masters. And I should say, that's quite significant. It would be, he's got a 5-shot lead, and that would be the first time since 1945, if he doesn't win, that someone has blown a 5-shot lead. Remember last week, right. Tiger Woods told us last Tuesday, as late as last Tuesday, that he would be competing. Nobody had any idea before then. He'd said in February that he wasn't going to be able to take part just because of his life-threatening injuries that he
really
sustained last year.
Incredible comeback.
Yeah. Yes, it is, and so he's done well again. He's in the fight. He said it was a good fight. I'm in the ball game tomorrow, and it's a big day. Ireland's Shane Lowry is also in the mix as well. So there's British and Irish interest at least in the form of him. But it was the wins that did for Tiger, really. But, the weather changes. I don't know what the forecast is for the next day or so. Big day tomorrow. But he's in contention, and he's got the pedigree. He's won it 5 times already, Tiger, so I wouldn't count him out of it. However, as I say, Scheffler looks as unassailable as anyone has been since 1945, so not many people can say that.
No, well, you've got to keep his fingers crossed.
It's a much more interesting sport to watch now as well. Now they've brought in that sort of technology that shows you how the shots work.
Yes, I think it contributes to a better understanding from the viewers. I mean, I've done shoots in my previous job at Sky with guys who are interested in the mechanics of golf, which, you can do. It's a bit like football in a way as well. The science sometimes helps us understand why the competitors do certain things. I don't like too much of it. You can be blinded by science sometimes. I mean, if you look at a football match, for example, there are some commentators these days who think every match is won by a formation. Well, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's because someone's having an off day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about... I believe sport should first and foremost be about personalities rather than the mechanics of the golf.
Razzmatazz helps, though.
Oh, without doubt. Especially in something like golf. I mean, the concern among the golfers this week with Tiger, the Tiger Show being back in town, is that the US networks particularly would be focused solely on that, and that someone like Scotty Scheffler, who was not coming from nowhere, he's had a great year, he's won 3 PGA events, but it would be overshadowed because he wasn't quite as sexy as a name. He could also be, even in spite of winning it, he could also be less of the story than Tiger was, which is disappointing if you actually win the thing.
Yeah, it would be. A quick word about the Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah, we had a bit of drama in the last few minutes. A red flag. 2 drivers have crashed into each other, both Canadians, Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi. Stroll plays or represents Aston Martin. Latifi is for Williams. That's qualifying 1. So that changes the dynamic for tomorrow. A bit of football last night as well. Newcastle and Wolves. Newcastle won 1-0. A bit of a stretch to say that they were in a relegation battle. They were 7 points clear of the bottom 3, although Burnley had 2 games in hand. But they're 10 points clear now. Newcastle can look ahead to next season. All that Saudi money rolling into town, and you'll see the dynamics at the top of the Premier League change in the next year or 2, I would have thought, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah. Lovely stuff. Aidan, thank you. We'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Cheers, guys.
Stay with us here on Breakfast. We've got plenty more to come for you, including another look at today's newspapers with Dawn Neeson and Petri Hoskin.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
7:33, morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. We are live across the UK on your TV and on your radio.
So let's bring you up to date with the headlines today. And the UK is sending a further £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine's armed forces. That follows a Russian rocket attack on a train station in Kramatorsk, which killed at least 52 people, including 5 children.
Well, trade unions are organising a protest today in solidarity with Ukraine, calling for the immediate withdrawal of Russian troops and a ceasefire. It's being held in London. It will also demand that the government admits all refugees who want to come to the UK without further delay.
The Chancellor's wife has said she will now pay UK tax on all her worldwide income. That's after it emerged that Rishi Sunak's multimillionaire wife, Akshata Murthy, holds non-domicile status, which exempts her from paying tax on foreign income.
Emmanuel Macron has made a final appeal to voters ahead of the first round of the French presidential election tomorrow. The opinion polls show Mr Macron is just ahead of the far-right candidate Marine Le Pen, but supporters say there is a growing sense of discomfort at the tight race.
Around 30,000 vulnerable patients in England with COVID-19 have been treated with highly effective antiviral drugs. The NHS have branded the treatment cutting edge and says they improve symptoms within hours.
Will Smith has been banned from attending the Oscars for 10 years after that slap that he delivered to Chris Rock on stage. It happened when Chris Rock made that joke about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
And the chocolate firm Ferrero has issued a recall on all of its Kinder chocolate products manufactured at a site in Belgium amid salmonella fears. The company says it's suspending operations at its plant in Arlon, and it says it will only reopen once certified by the authorities.
No, it's not the sort of Kinder surprise you want, though, is it?
Really isn't, is it? Gosh.
No.
It's horrible when you hear things like that, isn't it? Because you can imagine how many shop shelves those are on, and they've got to be withdrawn if they were made at supplied by that particular factory.
Yes,
Awful.
then you worry if you bought any over the last few days.
Nightmare.
Let's have a look through the papers. Petri Hoskin and Dawn Neeson are with us once again. Good to see you both. Petri,
Good morning.
let's kick off with The Guardian and looking at Kramatorsk and this attack on a railway station.
Yeah, I mean, the pictures, the images, as ever, are absolutely devastating. And if you are listening on radio this morning, you'll just see a front page of a newspaper, and I'm afraid they are there, the bloodstains on the ground, and even inside the papers, bodies covered in tarpaulin. The Kremlin, of course, being accused of carrying out this monstrous war crime after a Russian ballistic missile hit a crowded railway station. Of course, they're saying that it was nothing to do with them, and they're saying also that it's false flag. This is about Ukraine not wanting citizens to flee so that they can be used as some kind of human shield. Look, the fog of war creates an awful lot of stuff that we may never know about, but this certainly it does have Russia written all over it, and to hit an area. You can understand stray, I don't know if you remember the term, the Scud missiles.
Oh, yeah.
Things like
I do, yeah.
And they would often go astray because they weren't very intelligent pieces of kit. But these days, the kit is very intelligent, and very rarely will any manufacturer tell you that it will go anywhere other than where it's directed.
a train line is a strategic hit.
It's a strategic hit. But it's just... Look, there aren't really words for this. This is absolutely disgusting. And I just, I keep reading headlines saying things like, this will not go unpunished. Really?
I know.
Really?
That's the trouble. It becomes almost the norm.
Really?
Daily horror becomes the norm. And
but also, how are we going to punish?
It become the norm. The fact is, if they were, most
our hands are tied, aren't they? That's the problem. It's very interesting, though, looking at some of the coverage, though, that some media outlets now are using the pictures unpixelated. So
I know.
You can see the full horror of you know, when we worked on newspapers, obviously, Petri, you know, you and I both saw the pictures come in and you couldn't publish them. They were just too horrific.
Absolutely
But
not.
now some outlets are choosing to do that, and
Well,
it's really hammering the point home.
But it's because it's all available online now, isn't
Yeah,
it? So it's
absolutely.
like if they start pixelating everything, well, people are just going to look online.
But I remember, Dawn, as you're saying, I was outside Gorney Verkoof and went into a church that was being used as a hospital, as many were during the Bosnian conflict, and the injuries and the suffering of these men that I saw in the beds in there. And I had a cameraman and a photographer with me, and they were clicking away and filming away, and I absolutely lost my stuff with them both, because I said, first of all, I don't want the last thing these men to see is your stupid camera in their faces. And the injuries were seriously horrendous, unsurvivable and untreated. Right, this wasn't a hospital. And I said, and where are you going to show the pictures?
Yeah.
We can't use anything you've just filmed ever, anywhere, ever, because they are so bad.
Did you see the picture in yesterday's newspapers of the girl with the nail varnish?
I was just going to mention that because
she's a girl. She's a very, very well-known Ukrainian girl, very well-known influencer.
Yeah.
You know, she does video blogs. She does makeup blogs. She talks about, and she had a very distinctive way of doing her nails. And the photographers, or must have been the local journalists, saw a picture of a dead body in one of the cities, I can't remember where, and they saw her hand, and she was recognisable immediately. Because her nail varnish was so distinct.
I was going to mention that picture. For me, that really brought home the true... I know it's just a manicure we're talking about, but the true horrors of what's going on. Because my friend, up until sort of like, you know, last year, was a hairdresser working in London, and she's now from Kyiv, and she's back out there. And she took great pride in having a gel manicure, and it was seeing that picture. I don't know if my friend is still alive or not. I pray to God she is. It was seeing that picture that brought home that these are ordinary young women. That, you know, she laid down a brushes and a scissors to pick up an AK-47 to fight for her country, and it was that manicured hand. And it just really brought me up short, because it was just a simple thing.
Yes, that's why it was so powerful.
It meant so much. Such a powerful image. It really was.
Yeah.
OK, well, look, let's leave Ukraine there for the moment, because I want to talk about the Queen, Dawn, who obviously is looking forward to her Platinum Jubilee. But we've only just heard that she's not going to take part in the Maundy Thursday thing, which is, she normally always does. What do we think? Is she going to be up to many of the celebrations?
Well, I mean, the Express, obviously, they love the Queen, and, you know, determined Queen to be there for her people. So talking about other things that are coming on. Obviously, the Maundy Thursday celebration is a huge tradition. She loves doing this. She's only ever missed it in 4 previous occasions, 54, 60, 64 and 70, when she was either away or just given birth. But, I mean, basically, it means for a woman of her age, a lot of standing up for hours on end, you know, walking down the line, handing out the money. And she doesn't want to be seen to be frail. She's always been there for her. She's always wanted to present this picture of strength. And I think one of the pictures that does haunt her is that, we can all remember it, before we lost Princess Margaret, and she was pictured in that wheelchair and looking very poorly and very ill. And I think the Queen is one of those women that she doesn't want to be seen to be too frail. She wants to be there, being strong.
Well, she knows the effect it would have on us.
Exactly.
It would make us all so fearful, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Well, that's why she went into the chapel round the back, and she didn't do the back way.
Yeah, so, I mean, she will miss this ceremony, but she is determined to be there for everything else that's coming up, the state opening of Parliament, and obviously her beloved Derby, the horse racing, which she will
be watching. I
just hope she doesn't feel too much pressure.
Yeah.
She should just be able to do it.
Yeah.
That's it. Do what you want, Mum.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
She's worked long
Sit
enough
down with a nice gin and tonic and watch it on the telly. Do that.
Yes.
We've been going on about Will Smith. I was just wondering about Boris Becker.
This is a really interesting story. It's kind of slipped. It's not getting the attention I think that it should. Boris Becker, the famous tennis player. For those who might, he's famous for other things as well, including cupboards. But Boris Becker's reputation as the golden boy of Wimbledon and the voice of BBC tennis was in tatters as he faced a long prison sentence over a £2.5 million bankruptcy scam. Now, there were 15 charges against him and he was found guilty of 4 of them. He is yet to be sentenced, but, and a couple of papers differ from this, each of the charges that he stands for could be up to 7 years in jail, although one newspaper says it's 7 years in total. But basically, he could go to prison for this.
Yes, he's been declared bankrupt.
Yes.
But when you are declared bankrupt, you have to tell the authorities everything.
Yeah.
Everything you own, every little bit of business and all the rest of it. And those are basically what the charges are.
A lot of the charges, he wasn't, he was accused of hiding or keeping to himself some of his trophies that were worth an awful lot of money. They didn't stand up. But other things did, and that is the day of his bankruptcy, suddenly spending £380,000, 28 grand to his ex-wife, some money here, £40,000 for an ankle operation. And, excuse me, those are the things that they're saying, you don't behave like that.
Anyway,
and these are serious
you've got
charges.
to declare everything. You're not allowed to have a bank account.
And on the day of the bankruptcy, a lot
But this is actually prison time for Boris Becker. I think that is staggering.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Staggering.
The golden boy of tennis.
Yep.
There you go. So look at the son of golden balls, Brooklyn Beckham. Is taking his vows today.
Well, absolutely, and someone on this table's got a wedding coming up soon as well, haven't they? Right, OK, well, this is... I hate myself for being fascinated by this story, but I am.
It's just because they're throwing money at it.
It is, honestly. It's Brooklyn Beckham, for those who are unaware, the oldest son of Victoria and David Beckham. He is marrying a young lady, a model called Nicola Pelt. She's 27, Brooklyn is 23, in a £3 million 3-day bash at the bride family's £76 million beachside estate in Palm Beach. Her dad is a financier, is worth £1.3 billion.
Do you know what? I couldn't care less.
Which makes her... Oh, come
Honestly.
on. It is... I am morbidly interested in this. But she's got a white dress, OK? Obviously, she would do it. Not designed by Victoria Beckham. No. A white dress, believed to be Nicola's custom-made Valentino wedding frock, was seen being transported on a golf cart. What sort of frock needs to be transported on a golf cart?
Does your frock need to be transported on a golf cart?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I hope so.
Cheeky devil.
If it's custom made by Valentino, can you imagine how much that's?
I'm sure they can afford it, but they've also spent, let me see, £50,000 on 400 orchids. £50,000 on orchids, which are going to sort of last a couple of days.
OK, is that obscene or is it just nice to do if you've got the money? I'd love to know your view.
I think it's a bit obscene, actually.
Yeah.
I do, to be honest.
Are you not spending £3 million?
But no, I sort of think, well, you see, I suppose I'm coming at it from a slightly different perspective now, but you do sort of think, if the wedding, if it's all show, as my mother would say, it's all fur coat and no knickers.
Yeah.
Which does make me, I just don't think that's what weddings should be about.
Well, I mean...
But then again, I haven't got...
What should weddings be about? Let us know. GBViews at gbnews.uk. Are we being...
See, mine's very small.
Are we
mine's
just
very
jealous?
small.
I'm fascinated.
I mean, I care about your wedding, but I don't. I literally don't. Couldn't care less.
But the bride and groom have only known each other for 2 years.
That's all right.
That's all
But
right.
I mean...
You can fall in love that fast, can't you?
He's only 23.
He's young.
I know.
Oh, you never know, though.
He lives in a fast-paced world.
Yes, I can't think what attracted her
Anyway,
to him. And
whatever.
vice versa.
Right. Well, on that cheery note, I mean, cynical, the pair of you, actually.
But I'm sure it's a love match. Come on, it's a love match. They love each other. And
I hope it is.
They do.
we wish them all the happiness in the world.
It's very much an Instagram love match.
It is, though. Right, you two can get off now, but thank you. Petri Oskin and Jordan Neeson. Honestly, they're hard work.
Yes, indeed.
But they are coming back one more time.
Are they? Yes. Oh, good. No, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. Oh, I'm just going to stop now.
Yeah. Now, let's tell you that today, a naval uniform worn by the Duke of Edinburgh and his Admiral's cap go on display for the first time at the National Museum of the Royal Navy in Portsmouth.
Because, as we were saying, can barely believe that it's exactly a year since he passed away. Our royal reporter Cameron Walker looks back on that day and Prince Philip's legacy.
He is someone who doesn't take easily to compliments, but he has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years.
Prince Philip passed away peacefully at Windsor Castle in April 2021, just 2 months before his 100th birthday. He had been at the Queen's side for 7 decades, devoting his life to his country and family. TV presenter Eamon Holmes was broadcasting at the time and recalls the moments the news was announced.
Prince Philip passing wasn't a totally unexpected situation. He had been ill for some time.
The Duke of Edinburgh's scaled-back funeral 8 days later celebrated a lifetime of support for the armed forces. He even helped design the Land Rover hearse that carried his coffin to St George's Chapel in Windsor. His wish for a no-fuss approach was perhaps emphasised by a service bound by pandemic restrictions, a small silver lining in the cloud of coronavirus. But it did mean the Queen was forced to sit alone, just one of 30 masked mourners in the chapel.
These two came together.
Margaret Tyler is known as Britain's loyalist royalist. She claims to own around 12,000 individual pieces of memorabilia and has met the Queen 4 times.
Didn't she look sad sitting there on her own? I just want to go sit with her, honestly. I just felt so sorry.
Prince Philip's granddaughter, Princess Beatrice, describes his incredible sense of humour, but he was sometimes a little abrupt.
He talked to me about climate change once and he said, love it, love it. He said, it's great for the grouse. Great for the grouse in Norfolk. I don't know why everybody complains. His point being that whatever the climate change was doing, it was leading to a bigger population of grouse, which he would then go out and shoot.
The Queen was actively involved in plans for the Duke of Edinburgh's service of Thanksgiving last month at Westminster Abbey. Her Majesty was determined to be there. Despite her growing frailty and mobility issues, she took the shorter routes to her seat via Poets' Corner, accompanied by her son, Prince Andrew. A decision which threatened to overshadow the day because of the Duke of York's out-of-court settlement in a civil sexual assault case. He's always denied the allegations. There were 2 notable absentees. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex chose not to be there. Margaret thinks he should have made the effort.
I do think Harry could have come over. I mean, he's only got to get on a plane, hasn't he? And I think the Queen would have appreciated that because she's very fond of him, isn't she? He's her grandson.
The service itself celebrated the Duke of Edinburgh's contribution to public life and support for around 700 charities which he was associated with. Free from restrictions, many elements planned for the original funeral could finally be honoured. Now, a naval uniform worn by the Duke of Edinburgh and his Admiral's cap is on display for the first time, celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, a lasting tribute to a World War II naval hero. Cameron Walker, GB News.
And didn't he look splendid in that uniform too?
Yes,
I mean, older pictures, as an older man, he looked wonderful in that uniform. As a younger man, he was absolutely gorgeous in that uniform, wasn't he? He looked fantastic. Why are you smiling?
There's a twinkle in her eye, ladies and gents. There's a twinkle in her eye. Let's talk to royal biographer and commentator Angela Levin. Good to see you.
Good morning.
It's interesting with this private service that the royal family are going to be having. Do you think it will be, as we can do, sort of smile and remember and honour Prince Philip rather than just mourn him a year on?
I think the aim will be to keep the Queen boosted and to keep her happy during this time. You know, so it'll be good stories. And do you remember when he said this? And do you remember that terrible joke he went then? I think that would be the way to make her feel remembering him, but not in a sad or difficult way.
I think when somebody has had a long life, and his was very long and very eventful, I think you can more easily remember their life rather than their death.
Yes.
Because he did so much, and as you say, there are so many brilliant stories to be told.
Yes, and I think that the whole point is that they keep her positive, and I think that that's the best way to do it.
Who's her favourites? I noticed when Prince Philip died, it was Sophie Wessex was one of the best to come out of Windsor Castle and talk to people and talk to the reporters about the way he died and the fact that she held his hand and things like that. I thought she had a real...
She said actually it was as if an angel had held his hand and taken him away. It's a bit one step above
even Sophie Wessex,
yes.
yeah. But she had an empathy there, and she's often by the Queen's side, isn't she? She's obviously
they
a real
live very
favourite.
close, and the Queen loves her. And one of the reasons the Queen loves her is that she said, you don't really notice she's there. She never creates any trouble. And I think that that's a very good reason for liking someone, particularly when she's got two very troubling children. And I think that will help her. And apparently, Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, she rings her mother-in-law every single day, grandmother-in-law, to see how she is. Yes. So that's very touching, and you can see that she comes from a family where the interaction is very important, and so she wants to make sure that the Queen feels that even if she's not there, she's thinking about her. And I bet you she's worked out a funny story about one of the children, or what she's doing, or a plan, and I think that's a wonderful thing to hear, actually, because then the Queen can look forward to this, and it sort of makes a break in what must be very difficult days.
And I mean, difficult times ahead for the Queen as well. We know she's not taking part in the Maundy service next week. First time in a very long time she's not done that.
It is ever.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen was making the point a bit earlier. We hope they're not putting too much pressure on her to attend too many of her own events for her own Jubilee. She will feel that pressure to a certain extent.
Yes, I think she will. And I think one of the reasons is because if she's not there and she's not well, you see the end of an era more clearly. And you don't really want to have all these jolly-doos going on. And I also wonder whether enough people are taking up and buying tickets for it. It could be, not as popular and exciting as was wanted.
You see, what disturbed me, it was in the Express about the Queen, and saying she's determined to be at as many of the Jubilee things as she can do, but she says, I won't let my nation down.
Yes.
Well, she can't let the nation down. I mean, it's not possible. She's served the nation so well for such a long time. She can't. If she needs to take time, well, that's not a problem.
Yes, but I think on one level that will keep her going. And on another level, she has to be careful, because you can see how crumpled she is now, poor woman, and that she'll be 96 in about 10 days, I think. And you can't expect her to do that. But I think she wants people to come and celebrate, because she's been waiting for this a long time. She's tremendously proud that she's served longer than anybody else in the UK.
But people will want to see her, won't they?
They will want to see her. They will want to see her.
If she's not there, you'd be very disappointed.
Very.
She's going to have to find clever ways of being there without exerting herself.
Yes, I think there'll be a big camera there with her at screen, and she'll be there smiling and looking nice, no doubt with a hat.
Yes, no doubt. Yeah. Look, Angela, we've got to leave it there. It's really good to see you, as always. Thank you very much indeed.
Smashing. Do stay with us, though, because we've got plenty more to come, including a look at our exclusive interview with the Prime Minister. So don't go far.
Good morning. Alex Deacon here with your latest weather forecast from the Met Office. This weekend, dry and fine for most of us. It is going to be on the chilly side, however, with frosty conditions again tomorrow morning. We've got a little ridge of high pressure dominating, areas of low pressure either side, cold air that's been with us for a number of days stuck in here, but some milder air isn't too far away, and that's going to arrive next week. But for the time being, this weekend, as I said, it is a chilly one. We've got a few showers here and there, chiefly of rain over North Wales, the odd one for Northern Ireland, a mixture of the showers across Scotland, Northern Scotland in particular, with some rain and hill snow. But that snow could come down to low levels across the far north of Scotland at times. One or two scattered showers through the afternoon across the Midlands, maybe southern England, but for the vast majority, dry and bright. Yes, it will cloud over a little bit, and it's not particularly warm, but at least that strong wind has eased down. Still fairly brisk winds across the northeast, still bringing some more showers here overnight. Again, wintry showers as well, with some sleet and snow, perhaps even down to low levels. So it could just turn a little icy. Elsewhere, though, it's a dry night with clear skies, and that is allowing the blue to take hold of the map. So it is going to be a frosty one tomorrow morning. Temperatures even in towns and cities close to or actually bang on freezing, and rural areas will be a little bit below. So yes, a cold start tomorrow yet again, but again the sun comes up, the frost will melt, and for most it's a fine day with decent spells of sunshine. Even the showers across northern Scotland tending to fade. We will see cloud increasing across the west, perhaps late in the day, bit of rain just trickling into the west of Northern Ireland. But again, most places dry. Yes, it's still chilly for the time of year, but again, the winds will be light, getting that sunshine. It doesn't feel too bad. And if you're fed up with the cold, better news lies ahead, because these weather fronts moving in will bring cloud and showers next week, but they will also bring milder air, so turning a little warmer. Goodbye.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children, and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls, and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate, and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
The Prime Minister tells GB News exclusively that he was not put on a ventilator when he contracted COVID-19 2 years ago.
Well, good morning to you. It is 8 o'clock on Saturday, April the 9th. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
We're live across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio.
And coming up for you this morning, in that exclusive interview with GB News, the Prime Minister explains how unwell he felt when he was admitted to hospital 2 years ago with COVID.
Whatever happened to me was really mild by comparison with the experience of so many other people, so many thousands of other people in this country.
The UK is sending another £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine's armed forces after a deadly Russian strike on a train station killed at least 50 people. We'll bring you the latest.
Rishi Sunak's wife says she will now pay UK tax on her worldwide income after coming under fire for holding non-dom status. But is this just a political ploy to save her husband's career? Let us know what you think.
And are you one of millions of people whose travel plans are being disrupted? Our Wales reporter will break down exactly what you need to know if you're travelling by land, sea or air today.
And if you are planning on going anywhere, why not get in touch? Let us know what your plans are, and if you've been told that there's an issue on the way, gbviews at gbnews.uk or tweet us at gbnews. So we're getting a few more details from that exclusive interview with GB News. We'll see the full interview at 10 o'clock this morning. But the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has talked openly about contracting COVID 2 years ago and, perhaps not surprisingly, praising NHS staff for their care. But he's denied that he was ever on a ventilator.
Anybody who's had COVID, and there are many, many thousands of people who have been through it in the country today, will tell you that it can be pretty debilitating. It does put you flat on on your back. That's what happened to me. It was in the early stages of our understanding of it. I went into hospital, and it was certainly true that my oxygen levels, for whatever reason, were pretty low. And they put the oximeter on your forefinger, and they monitor you very, very carefully. And they were absolutely brilliant. But for some reason, they couldn't seem to get my oxygen levels to get up to the levels that they wanted. And you should be roughly sort of 94% or above 94% oxygenation of the blood. And I think when I went in, I was in the 80s somewhere, I think. And I then had a pretty groggy night, and went down even lower. But as I've said before, the NHS was absolutely amazing.
Well, you can see that exclusive interview with the PM in full on the Saturday selection. That's at 10 o'clock this morning on GB News.
Well, for more on this and why he spoke about what he spoke about and why I think he's sort of playing down how dangerously ill he was, let's talk to political commentator Stephen Carlton-Woods. Very good morning to you. And can I put that question straight to you, actually, because it seemed to me that when he came out of hospital, he was very emotional about the ordeal he'd been through. But maybe now he's just playing it down because he wants to be the strong Prime Minister.
No, I remember covering this story at the time, and I don't think anything's changed within the story. But I remember just before he went into hospital, he was looking very tired and concerned, and he looked worried all the time when he was doing his press conferences. So we didn't know if it was the strains of COVID, of the pandemic, and the things he knew that the country had to face. But then all of a sudden he ended up in hospital. So I don't think he's playing it down. There's nothing changed in the story.
I just wondered if maybe he had been advised, you should, as a Prime Minister, as a leader, you should never look weak, which of course I suppose he did at the time. Now he's looking strong. He's certainly got a lot on his plate at the moment, hasn't he? So he has to give the idea, at least, that he's in control.
Well, I think he is well and truly in control, yes, but he's up against it at the moment because there's three problems that the Prime Minister currently faces, and he's faced ever since coming into power as the Prime Minister just over 2 years ago. He's got fractions in the media that will never forgive him for Brexit. He's got fractions in the media that won't forgive him because he's a Tory and he can't stand anything to do with conservatism. And also within his own party, there was people in the party that never wanted him as Prime Minister. So he's got all that to contend with while we've gone through a pandemic or crisis after crisis. We've had a crisis every month for the last 2 years. So he really is up against it. And I think really the country feel as though he's doing well.
The Chancellor's up against it, there's no doubt about that. What do you make of this U-turn by his wife to now pay UK taxes on her international income? I mean, is this purely a move to try to save Rishi's career?
Well, it would seem so, but why would someone, if I was in Rishi's situation with all that money, the last job I would want to do is be the Chancellor of the Exchequer. I'd be gone, living it up on a yacht and relaxing. So there's got to be something said for someone of that calibre to actually want to come and do this job. So with his wife doing that, I don't think it really helps the situation, but if he retired tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised.
We've always been led to believe that his ambitions were for number 10. Do you think that might have, like you say, you wouldn't be surprised if he left tomorrow? He still wants to be Prime Minister, though, doesn't he?
No. I would not think so at all. There's a lot of speculation in the media all the time about who's going to be the next PM, even within the party, and it never quite materialises. We were talking about George Osborne not that many years ago about becoming the Prime Minister. It doesn't happen. And usually it's always someone from the outside that comes in and down the edge. There was talk years ago, anyone would be the Prime Minister, but it wouldn't be Boris. Boris ruled himself out years ago, and there he is, his Prime Minister.
It just shows anything they always say, don't they? Anything can change in politics. We don't know. Clearly, Boris doesn't want to be written off anyway yet.
I don't think he will, no. And I think he'll be around for a while yet. Quite easy.
Oh, well.
Oh, there's a lot of speculation. One more thing. There's a lot of speculation in today's papers that perhaps Boris will do a reshuffle and Rishi could find himself out of a job anyway. How likely do you think that might be?
I think he'll still be... well, if he gets over this bit, I think he'll still be there. But we don't know. As Harold Wilson said, a week is a long time in politics. So how it pans out I think we'll know. We'll be clearer by Wednesday if he's likely to be in the plans for the future.
Well, there's no doubt his wife's just put a lot more money in the Treasury coffers.
Well,
How many million?
About 2.1 million or thereabouts, so they reckon.
Quite handy.
Anyway, so far. Stephen Carlton-Woods, good to talk to you this morning. Thank you. Well, Stephen says that the country is behind the Prime Minister. Is that... Well, I think that's a little bit of an overestimation. Some of you are, that's for sure. I'm not sure that Rita is, who's been in touch. Morning to you, Rita. Says the way our government handled the pandemic was an embarrassment. Too many ministers broke lockdown despite having family and friends in hospital. That's not personal responsibility, it's living in denial.
Yeah, Gil says Boris needs to accept that what he experienced wasn't a realistic expectation of our healthcare. It needs investment and fast.
Derek says, can't believe some people can bring up Partygate when our Prime Minister opens up about his mental and physical well-being. Some people just don't know how to act.
And Sarah, hello Sarah, thank you for this. My mother was in hospital with COVID too. It seems both her and Boris were able to get away with limited consequences. Thank God for our NHS.
Yeah, well, ain't that the truth?
We were also talking about animals.
Oh, yes.
And how getting close to animals sometimes sort of puts you back in touch with nature. Stephen had a wonderful afternoon yesterday, didn't you, with lambs?
Oh, that was so lovely. Just to see the, lambs being born and then getting a cuddle with one that was a few days old and all that sort of thing. And it's just a lovely thing. And it's just that whatever else is going on in the world, and it's awful at the minute, whether it's Ukraine or whether it's cost of living or whatever, it's just that moment of going, do you know what? This is life. Whatever happens, life goes on.
Now, look, if you're on your way to work or something, listening on the radio, we're showing some wonderful pictures of Stephen. They're literally cuddling a lamb, and in that one, the lamb was actually suckling on your finger.
Yeah, which was, do you know what? And that was lovely. Just to have a lamb suckling away on you is just such a lovely thing.
Happy to be in the world, really, aren't they? And I think that's what gives you joy, particularly at this time of year. If you're driving along and you see a field full of sheep and there are lots of little lambs gambolling away, it does make you feel better.
It does make you
feel
better.
So I was asking you, what makes you feel close to nature or gives you that lovely real moment?
Layla says, I went to Florida once and had an amazing swim with a manatee. Such gentle creatures. She named one, called it Horton.
Why Horton?
I don't know. He blew bubbles and gently laid next to me for a few minutes before slowly swimming off.
And Hannah says, I love my cat Charlie. He acts like a posh gentleman, sitting very aloof on the couch and not moving for any reason unless food is involved. He's a bit rude to me, but overall a lovable pet.
Oh.
Cats can be a bit rude, though, can't they?
Well, they're in charge.
Yeah, well, exactly.
You see, cats are not our pets. We're theirs.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Well, that's the way I like it.
How do you keep in touch with nature, as it were? Or what gives you that lovely, real moment feeling where you pinch yourself and you think, oh, it's just good to be alive sometimes?
Yeah, and you can just forget the rest of the world and what's going on.
But we won't let you because we're going to bring you up to date with the latest headlines now.
Yes, I'm afraid so. It is 11 minutes past 8. 10 humanitarian corridors to evacuate some of the besieged areas of Ukraine, including Mariupol, have been agreed for today. However, the governor of Luhansk has asked for more evacuations as shelling increased in recent days with the arrival of more Russian forces.
The Chancellor's wife has said she will pay UK tax on all her worldwide income. That's after it emerged that Rishi Sunak's multi-millionaire wife, Charter Murty, holds non-domicile status, which exempts her from paying tax on foreign income.
Will Smith has been banned from the Oscars for 10 years after slapping Chris Rock on stage. It happened, of course, when the comedian made a joke about Will's wife.
And the Queen and other members of the royal family are expected to privately mark the first anniversary of the Duke of Edinburgh's death. He died on this day last year at Windsor Castle, just months short of his 100th birthday.
excuse me. I've been a bit under the weather for the last week.
And
it's not quite gone
going
yet.
is it?
So I feel the best I've felt all week.
Good. Well, rest your voice for a minute.
So, good.
I'll read the next bit.
This is the best way to make money.
What?
Sit here and let you do the
talking.
Thank
you very much. Not for long. Passengers across the UK are being warned to expect significant delays to travel plans this weekend, as nearly 30 million Brits head on holiday for Easter. Meanwhile, people travelling on the rail network are facing cancellations and limited services. Our Wales reporter, Lily Hewitson, joins us now from Cardiff Central Station. That's the train station, of course. Hi there, Lily. What is it like there for passengers at the moment?
Yes, good morning. Today is expected to be the busiest day for travel on the road as people get on the road and head away for their Easter break. So whether that's getting on the road to head to the airport, coming to the train station to head somewhere else, or perhaps going to a destination elsewhere in the UK, it's going to be particularly busy. Now, things here at Cardiff Central are quite quiet at the moment, but that could change as the day goes on because, of course, travel is so much easier this year because the majority of restrictions have been scrapped here in the UK. Now, rail passengers here in Wales have been advised to plan ahead due to engineering works in the north and south of the country. But elsewhere in the UK, there are amended timetables for cross-country, Greater Anglia and Trans-Pennine Express services, reduced services on London North Western Railway, bus replacements for the West Midlands Railway, and disruption between Barking and Upminster on trains operated by C2C. So people are being warned to check those train times, check those services if they're planning on, travelling by rail today, as there could well be changes and you want to avoid disappointment.
What about the? Oh, sorry, Anne.
No, sorry. I thought you were still suffering.
No, I'm gonna have a go. I'm gonna be a brave soldier and have a go. Lily, what's happening with the airports? Because there's been so many cancelled flights.
Yeah, that's right. Here in Wales, Cardiff Airport in particular is expecting to handle around 20,000 passengers today, which is expected to go fairly smoothly. But elsewhere across the UK, of course, Manchester Airport has warned that passengers should expect queues of up to 90 minutes long due to staff shortages because of COVID, and of course passenger numbers returning to those pre-pandemic levels. Now, we've seen the chaos unfold at the airport this week, and that's expected to continue into the Easter holidays. The CEO of Manchester Airport has advised people to arrive 3 hours before their flight to avoid missing it and avoid any kind of disappointment. Heathrow, Gatwick and Birmingham airports have also been hit by delays and cancellations too. Now, Labour has accused the UK government of being missing in action over the situation, and the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, has warned the aviation sector to be careful about cutting any jobs as airlines and airports struggle to cope with these staff shortages because of COVID-related illnesses.
OK, so that's trains and planes. What about ferry services too? Because I gather they are also affected.
Yeah, that's right. P&O ferries have suspended their services between Dover and Calais over this weekend. Now, the company announced earlier this week that normal services could resume this weekend after, of course, they fired those 800 members of staff earlier in March, which stopped their services from running. But yesterday, P&O announced on Twitter that customers should book with another operator for travel over the weekend before arriving at the port, because their services won't even be running. And of course, this will exacerbate that traffic on the M20, which has been in place for around the last 9 days now, with lorries trying to get to the port of Dover. But even P&O's rival, DFDS, has warned of 2-hour delays for their services as well as a result. So people are being told to arrive early and book with another operator if they are travelling between Dover and Calais on the ferry to avoid any kind of disappointment as well.
And finally, what about the other roads? You talk about the roads that are feeding the ferries, but just roads generally, I think, in the UK are going to be chock-a-block, aren't they?
Yes, that's right, and it's going to be particularly busy today. Today is the day of the entire Easter break where it's going to be very, very busy. Around 5 million motorists are going to be heading in the car, getting to their destination, wherever that may be in the UK or abroad. And next weekend in particular, nearly 30 million people are expected to hit the road over that bank holiday weekend, according to the AA. So traffic is going to be very, very busy. So, you're going to be expected to be waiting and queuing for, considerable amount of time. Here in Wales, the M4 westbound between junction 23 and 26 in that Bridgend area is meant to be particularly busy this weekend. It's going to be the busiest part of the roads here in Wales over this weekend at around midday because of people travelling for the Easter break. But of course, we'll bring you the latest travel news here on GB News, on TV and on radio. But for now, back to you.
Lily, thanks very much indeed. How joyous a prospect it is going to be on the trains and planes and ferries and generally on the roads. But of course, the one thing you can do is download the app, because we'll keep you up to date with everything.
Yes.
Download the GB News app. You can listen to us as you go, or as you don't go, as you queue, maybe. Yeah, but we'll try and keep you up to date with the very latest. It just seems incredible to me that everything's so chaotic.
It is mad at the minute. At least Lily brought us the news with a smile.
Yeah, I thought it was almost snow behind
it. Did look like snow, didn't it?
It's
Yeah, I was
such a bright day in Cardiff, obviously. Yeah.
Lovely.
I thought, wow, is it snowing? But
that would be nice. I topped up the car with diesel yesterday, and went to a supermarket. It comes up on my little display what the prices are, and it was the cheapest one. You say, oh, that's cheap. £1.68 a litre.
I know. Whoever would have thought.
But honestly, the queues, you had to go in, all round, it was all down the road, then you got in and they took you all around the car park, and I was to get into the petrol station.
How long did it take just to get
15 minutes. It wasn't too, it moved quite quickly.
What's going on?
But it was just like, because it was only £1.60, only £1.68.
Oh, have you got that app that tells you where the
No, it just comes up on the car display.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You must have a very posh car.
Well, yeah.
He likes gazmos, gazmos and gadgets. Gizmos and gadgets, sorry, don't you?
Oh, I do. I do. If it's got buttons and beeps on there.
Absolutely.
Or I've been like that since I was a kid.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that, but not as bad as you. I do like a gadget. Have to have the latest one.
That's why they don't let me in the gallery here, because it's all screens and buttons, and I just absolutely destroy everything.
Don't let him anywhere near it.
We'd be properly broken.
Anyway, do stay with us, because we've got plenty more to come, including the very latest, obviously, the latest situation in the Ukraine. First of all, though, the weather.
Good morning. Alex Deacon here with your latest weather forecast from the Met Office. This weekend, dry and fine for most of us. It is going to be on the chilly side, however, with frosty conditions again tomorrow morning. We've got a little ridge of high pressure dominating, areas of low pressure either side, cold air that's been with us for a number of days stuck in here, but some milder air isn't too far away, and that's going to arrive next week. But for the time being, this weekend, as I said, it is a chilly one. We've got a few showers here and there, chiefly of rain over North Wales, the odd one for Northern Ireland, a mixture of the showers across Scotland, Northern Scotland in particular, with some rain and hill snow. But that snow could come down to low levels across the far north of Scotland at times. One or two scattered showers through the afternoon across the Midlands, maybe southern England, but for the vast majority, dry and bright. Yes, it will cloud over a little bit, and it's not particularly warm, but at least that strong wind has eased down. Still fairly brisk winds across the northeast, still bringing some more showers here overnight. Again, wintry showers as well, with some sleet and snow, perhaps even down to low levels. So it could just turn a little icy. Elsewhere, though, it's a dry night with clear skies, and that is allowing the blue to take hold of the map. So it is going to be a frosty one tomorrow morning. Temperatures even in towns and cities close to or actually bang on freezing, and rural areas will be a little bit below. So yes, a cold start tomorrow yet again, but again, the sun comes up, the frost will melt, and for most it's a fine day with decent spells of sunshine. Even the showers across northern Scotland tending to fade. We will see cloud increasing across the west, perhaps late in the day. A bit of rain just trickling into the west of Northern Ireland. But again, most places dry. Yes, it's still chilly for the time of year, but again, the winds will be light, getting that sunshine. It doesn't feel too bad. And if you're fed up with the cold, better news lies ahead, because these weather fronts moving in will bring cloud and showers next week, but they will also bring milder air, so turning a little warmer. Goodbye.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
It's 8:24. Very good morning. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne, live across the UK on your TV and on your radio.
Now, the UK's Ministry of Defence warns that Russian air activity is likely to increase in Ukraine's south and east. And that comes as Moscow's forces continue to hit civilian targets.
Now, on Friday, at least 50 people were killed and 100 injured after a rocket strike on the railway station in Kramatorsk in eastern Ukraine.
The US President Joe Biden has condemned the attack, calling it an horrific atrocity. Moscow, as you can imagine, denies any involvement.
Well, let's talk to Diana Wilson, who's a barrister and international criminal lawyer at the 36 Group. Really good to see you this morning. Look, there's been lots of talk from the White House and elsewhere about war crimes involved in everything that's gone on in Ukraine, and with the latest pictures emerging too. It seems, though, very easy to talk about war crimes. It's going to be very difficult to actually, I mean, not even prove it, but to get any sort of recompense, to get Putin to pay for anything, isn't it?
Well, I think the answer to whether Putin personally will ever face justice depends on the timeframes you look at. If you look at Kosovo, its trying cases some 25 years later. If you look at what happened in the Khmer Rouge, that was 45 minutes later. Generally, in order to prosecute an individual, you have to physically get them before the court. The ICC has already launched an investigation, and whether he ever faces justice will no doubt depend on, quite frankly, his state of health. Because I'd be surprised if he didn't face justice if he remained healthy for long enough. I disagree it's hard to prove these war crimes. One's got to realise that one method of responsibility is command responsibility, and Russia has a history of using these methods of warfare. And whether you're a military or a civilian commander, you can be found responsible if you, military, knew or should have known, or civilian knew or consciously disregarded information of war crimes. Civilians are protected individuals, and the train station attack is, in my view, as somebody who's worked in the RAF and has experience of targeting law, clearly a war crime. It will be relatively easy for investigators to see what weapons were used, who had those weapons, and therefore, at least proving the war crimes is not likely to be impossible. And whether he personally will face responsibility will depend on how long he lives, the regime, etc. But I'd be very surprised if in my lifetime senior military commanders within the Russian Federation are not prosecuted.
Here in one way, but do you have to usually, given the process, do you usually have to wait until a war is over before you can start that sort of prosecution process?
Well, the reality is that there are three main ways a prosecution will take place. The ICC, an ad hoc tribunal, or some kind of national court, either through universal jurisdiction, which would be where they're prosecuted somewhere else, or some sort of internationalized court, which is eventually set up in Russia like it has been in the Balkans. You don't have to have the war to finish to start investigating, but reality is that these investigations take time, the trial process takes time, and quite frankly, people are usually too busy to be looking at war crimes prosecutions unless, for example, Zelensky wanted to prosecute the person who's been seen shooting a Russian soldier. He could easily do that as a matter of military discipline during the war, but when you're going after the most responsible, those cases take time to put together.
There's a failure here, though, isn't there, of the international system? I mean, any justice system, any court of law, I mean, half of its job is to prevent crimes. It's meant to be a deterrent to crimes taking place. It does seem pretty clear that Russia has acted with impunity here.
Well, Russia obviously isn't a signatory to the Rome Statute. The ICC is investigating because this has happened in the territory of Ukraine, which is, again, not a signatory, but it has accepted jurisdiction. It's made two declarations. I mean, international law is there, the crimes are there. Let's not forget that there have been military commanders who have declined to take place. So there is some level of deterrent there. But the extent to which you can deter people like Vladimir Putin is a different matter.
Well, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. And I must say, to one extent, it is quite good to hear you say that you do hope that within your lifetime there would be some justice brought about after this.
I think a lot of
but
people
it's not
are
over
calling
yet.
for that.
Not over yet. Diana Wilson, thank you very much indeed.
Interesting. Probably not Putin, though. But those around him.
Yeah.
So.
Although in past, after past atrocities, we have actually seen the leader at the very top brought to justice.
That Radovan Karadzic.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we have.
It has happened.
Well, look, stay with us here on Breakfast. We've got plenty more to come for you, including a look at the newspapers, talking to Dawn Neeson and Petri Hoskin in just a couple of minutes.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children, and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London EC3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
(8:32). Very good morning to you, whether you're watching us on TV, listening to us on the radio. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. It's really good to have you with us today.
Well, we'll bring you up to date then with the latest headlines, and 10 humanitarian corridors to evacuate people from Ukraine's besieged regions, including Mariupol, have been agreed for today. However, the Luhansk governor has asked for more evacuations as shelling increased in recent days with the arrival of more Russian forces.
Trade unions are organising a protest in solidarity with Ukraine today, calling for immediate withdrawal of Russian troops and a ceasefire. The demonstration, to be held in London, will also demand that the government admits all refugees who want to come to the UK without delay.
The Chancellor's wife has said she will pay UK tax on all her worldwide income. That's after it emerged that Rishi Sunak's multi-millionaire wife, Akshay Tamati, holds non-domicile status, which exempts her from paying tax on foreign income.
Emmanuel Macron has made a final appeal to voters ahead of the first round of the French presidential election tomorrow. The opinion polls show Mr Macron is just ahead of the far-right candidate Marine Le Pen, but supporters say there is a growing sense of discomfort at just how tight that is.
Around 30,000 vulnerable patients in England with COVID-19 have been treated with highly effective antiviral drugs. The NHS have branded the treatment cutting edge and say they improve symptoms within hours.
You won't want a Kinder Surprise this morning because chocolate firm Ferrero has issued a recall on all Kinder chocolate products manufactured at a site in Belgium because there are fears of salmonella. The company says it's suspending operations at its plant in Arlon and says it will only reopen once certified by the authorities.
And Will Smith has been banned from attending the Oscars for 10 years after that incident with Chris Rock on stage. It all happened when the comedian, Chris Rock, that is, made a joke about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Well, let's go through the papers then for the last time this morning with Petri Hoskin and Dawn Neeson. Good to see you both once again. Let's start with a bit of a bonfire in the Daily Mail, Petri.
And it should have been, of course, a bonfire of the taxes that we're going to have to pay, but it's not. This is £35 million that has been paid to two companies on behalf of the Department of Health. These contracts were awarded to firms Suez and Viola, will allow them to recycle unused PPE. And what that actually means is to incinerate. So this isn't the £9 billion that was wasted on unusable PPE, if you remember, at the height of the pandemic. This is because we've got too much of it now. So it was over-ordered. And they're going to set fire to it, even though we're told that COVID's not over. So when we're being asked to pay more tax, this is what infuriates people. We're having to pay more money.
Why can't they store it? Because it would get... I mean, we use
because
PPE.
there are storage fees involved with storing it. And
Can't we
already
sell it to other countries then?
Well,
that's what I was going to say. Why can't we send it to countries that are struggling with PPE?
Yeah.
Well, just to burn it sounds crazy, especially as so much of it is plastic.
Yeah, and they're saying that they're literally burning through taxpayers' money. And this is when we're being, when you're being asked to pay so much more on everything, when you see this kind of waste, and how dare they waste this money
and
then make us pay for their inadequacies.
And let's not forget the billions that was wasted on fraud.
Oh,
over
30 billion, wasn't it?
The furlough schemes.
On furlough schemes.
We're not going to bother getting back.
And
but this could be useful. If this could be useful to somebody else, it should go somewhere else.
That's the important thing. Here.
But they need to start justifying it. You know, we need to know it's our stuff.
Right.
We paid for it.
No, that's a fair point.
They also, if you'd like to know, the government paid recruitment consultants, MLC partners. This will make your head explode, Anne. £360,000 to hire 2 civil servants to oversee PPE disposal.
What? Just say that again, that number.
The government also paid a recruitment consultant, MLC Partners, £360,000 to hire 2 civil servants to oversee PPE disposal.
Wow.
So that's what's
Wow.
on the contract. I mean, surely that's just a box of matches, isn't it? Box of Swan.
Yeah, quite.
So, like I say, it shouldn't be burned anyway.
Well, no,
it's plastic.
But there you go. That'll make you furious.
Wow.
Right.
There will be an inquiry into all this, won't there?
There will. There
Yes.
should be.
Yeah, but they're
There should
going to
be
be
something
marking their own homework,
Yes,
aren't they?
well,
We'll
I
have an
know.
inquiry into how well we did during this pandemic, and we'll do the inquiry ourselves.
I mean, the problem is things like this sort of wastage and these sort of contracts, they've been going on for ever and a day.
Forever. Yeah.
But it's just when you see it in black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you pay a recruitment firm 400 grand to hire 2 people?
To hire 2 people.
To oversee burning. I mean, honestly, it does seem to be.
I mean, for a few, Bob, I'd have turned up with a box of
me
matches and
too.
sorted it out myself.
Or you could have recruited somebody, but not for 360 grand.
They got 2
Unbelievable.
people for that.
Yeah.
Oh, cheap.
Very. OK, let's move on
Hold on a
because
minute.
that one's got steam coming out of our ears.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
what
Dawn,
this-
to the killer of Sabina Nessa,
Yeah,
who was
this
sentenced yesterday.
Yeah, this is the horrific story of Sabina Nessa, who was horrifically, brutally murdered by, his name is, I don't want to say it.
No, don't say it. Don't say it.
A piece of filth, any case. He battered her 34 times. She was chosen as random as she walked through a park on her own, and he didn't know her. She had nothing to do with him. He just selected this poor young woman. She was 28 years old, a primary school teacher, just selected at random, a young woman going about her business. He has been sentenced to life yesterday, has showed absolutely no remorse, refused to go to court because he didn't want to face her family.
Is there a minimum tariff on that?
36 years.
There's a minimum tariff.
That's the minimum.
Right.
But I mean, he's only 34. I mean,
Well, he'll be 70 when he gets
but
out,
still,
at
he
least.
should never get out. She was 28, Stephen. Her
I know,
life has
but-
been taken from her.
Do you know what I can't believe is the judge couldn't compel him to be in court.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought that was really weird when the judge said, well, I can't make him. Why can't you make him?
Yeah.
He should be
Outrageous.
dragged.
You can go, oh, I don't want to go. All right, then.
He should have been dragged there. It's about his
Yeah.
rights.
Why-
It's about his rights.
I mean, the picture that The Sun have and a few other papers have today, and that's why I've chosen the story, is it's CCTV of this piece of filth selecting a rolling pin at a store as a potential murder weapon. That's the amount of planning, and then he then drove from Eastbourne up to London to select a victim at random. And I want to talk about Sabina because what happened to her was overlooked in all the Sarah Everard coverage, which is, of course, incredibly important. But Sabina's story happened at the same time, and
It wasn't overlooked. I mean, because I remember reading
it
about
wasn't
it. at the
overlooked,
time,
but all the
and it was,
headlines.
it was so appalling.
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't get quite the same
It
coverage, but I
didn't.
don't know it did because her face is one of those faces you'll never forget, isn't it? What page is it? 21.
This is The Sun. I mean, such a pretty young woman. Not that it matters what she looked like, but she's 28 years old, a whole life ahead of her, and taken from her by this piece of scum.
Yeah, who doesn't even turn up to court to face.
No.
I just don't, I can't understand why the judge couldn't make him.
No, I think that
face the
should be
music.
something he should do. Make him stand there and take the shame, if nothing else.
Absolutely, if nothing else.
Yeah. Petrie, in the Daily Mail, Mr. Rascal, Dizzy
Yes.
Rascal, I don't know his real name, actually.
Dizzy Rascal, Dylan Quabena Mills, was let off with a community order for domestic violence despite the judge blasting the bullying rapper's lack of remorse. 37 years old, he's going to be subject to a night-time curfew for 24 weeks, and he must be on a tag, which presumably means he's allowed out during the day. But last month, his ex-fiancée tearfully told the court that she'd left their 9-year relationship because of domestic abuse. This doesn't feel like domestic abuse is being taken that seriously. And when we were just talking now about Sabina's killer, he was a domestic abuser before he turned to murder. Although my understanding is that the wife hadn't reported him, to the police. But in this instance, if Dizzy Rascal had been reported, and now the judge has said, well, you're a bully and you're a bad man, here's a nighttime curfew.
It depends what I mean, I don't know the details of the case, but what he was, whether it's violent domestic abuse or something else. I mean, it's not that one is necessarily worse than the other, but it's about what potential dangers he may pose to the community.
Yeah, but I mean, things start off in a way, don't they? Particularly with domestic abuse, they might start off with screaming and shouting, and then a bit of a push, and then things escalate. And it's better not to ignore it. And if somebody is in a domestically violent relationship, please seek help. There's so many ways of doing it. Somebody will hear you.
Before we run out of time, could we race ahead to the Grand National?
Oh, see what you did.
Because it's this afternoon, later this afternoon, and you've got a tip for us about who to bet on.
I don't. Actually, I was going to talk about the lovely ladies in the Ladies' Day.
It's not what it says there, but go on, do it anyway.
OK, any case, look, it's the big race
give you a
today,
tip,
and whether you
Shall I hold that one up?
Go on, yeah.
Yeah, go on. It's what you turn up in. Mind you, it's going to be really cold.
You know, my first, maybe it's my age, but my first thought when I looked at these pictures was they look gorgeous, bright, colourful, good for them. But aren't they cold?
Wear your wellies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a vest.
Yes.
A vest. Get that vest on.
Get your vest on.
I had my pyjamas on last night in bed.
Yeah?
I've started doing that after we talked about it last week.
I've allowed the dog on the bed now.
Good.
Same reason, she's warm.
Same way.
Absolutely, yeah, no, it makes sense. So stay warm, ladies.
Yeah, but I mean, still have a good... Do you ever have a flutter or not?
I do, yeah. My dad loved to bet on the GGs, so I'm going to have a gamble. But I haven't actually looked at the form today, so I don't know which one to bet on yet.
Have you ever done it, Petrie? Had a flutter?
No, I always pick a name anyway. I
only go by name.
Look, Petrie, we're almost out of time. We've got about 30 seconds. I just want to quickly, in the Daily Mail, why saying I do in a marriage is a bad idea.
I mean, you're a friend of mine, Stephen, and I just want to give you some advice here. It says, your wedding day may be the best day of your life, but the honeymoon period is really short-lived. So according to researchers, newlyweds report lower life satisfaction and higher levels of psychological distress and increased alcohol consumption not long after saying I do.
Oh.
So
that's a lovely, happy note.
So good luck, Stephen. Congratulations.
You feel better before you get married and worse afterwards.
Right. Well, I have to say, it will not be the best day of my life.
Oh, no.
Meeting me once.
It's just the best day so far.
Absolutely.
That's how we look at it, ladies and gentlemen. Despite the fact I have a hard shell, I'm soft on the inside.
You're so soft. You're pathetic.
That's lovely. You have to turn things around and always look positive, don't you?
Exactly.
The cruise director on the cruise that I've just come off, everybody's very, very upset to say goodbye, and she said, never mind, today is that maybe the last day of this cruise, but it's the one day nearer your next. And I thought, I like that.
Very nice.
I have to start planning.
And here's the booking form.
Yeah. You wouldn't believe how many people do as they're getting off.
Unfortunately, it's one day closer to having Dawn and Petrie back on the show for us.
Yes, that will be something to look forward to, though, you see. You have to have things to look forward to.
Almost sounded like you meant that one, Anne. Almost.
I love you too. I do. Thank you both very much indeed. It's been great to see you.
No, it really has. And it's coming up to exactly 9:15. The Brandon and Meadowfield Royal British Legion Club has been going for almost 100 years now. But a row over...
A row.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. There's a row, apparently, over who is responsible for repair work. That's been going on for half of that time, apparently.
It's a long time. The club's now desperate, and there are fears it could close for good. Our North East of England reporter Rachel Sweeney has the details.
In its 1930s heyday, Brandon and Meadowfield Royal British Legion Club was packed every night.
I'm going to charge you for it.
It's still busy and attracts all ages, from teenagers to veterans. But it's falling apart. The foundations are rotting and the roof is severely damaged. The building is owned by the Royal British Legion and rented by a committee. Club treasurer Lisa Embleton says the charity should pay for the work.
We just want some help. We've paid our rent. We've done everything over the years. We've been a profitable club. Don't let something like this end something that's so important to our local community.
The committee's looking for answers in paperwork dating back half a century.
21 years, and the rent was £1.10.
This valuation deed dates back to 1972. On it, it states that repair work was needed back then. But still nothing's been done. The building is just about still standing. But after 6 storms battered the northeast of England with winds of up to 90 miles per hour, one half of the Legion is completely shut down.
We're currently paying full whack rent for half a building. They've known since last October that we're only at half the capacity, but we're still paying the rent.
The British Legion says the club has a commercial lease and therefore the club committee is entirely responsible for repairs. It also claims that part of the property has been closed off after neglect. Julianne Roberts has lived opposite the Legion Club for 30 years.
If I won the lottery tomorrow, I would pull this building down and build it in brick for them. That's how I feel about this place. And it's so friendly. I mean, County Durham, but this is a little village here and people love you.
The staff and the people, fabulous. That's all I can say. They're really fun.
The lads crack, the people I love, and
cheap pints.
Cheap pints, that does help.
Fundraising is ongoing, but with every day that passes, more strain is put on the building and costs continue to rise. There's hope, but there's huge uncertainty over the future of this community hub. Rachel Sweeney, GB News, County Durham.
Now, of course, it's the Grand National today.
It is.
And we all we're talking before, but it's nice to have a flutter and all the rest of it. And I think for a lot of us, if you can just have a little bit of a flutter every now and then, it's a bit of harmless fun.
The problem is when it goes from being harmless fun to being an addiction. And a lot of people have gambling addictions. And it's not just sort of on the race, not sort of like going live or occasionally to the races. It's about online and everything like that.
Yeah, online and those very big stake machines you get in some betting shops and things. So for some people, it can be a real problem. And in fact, in 2014, our next guest, David Bradford, was jailed for 2 years for gambling-related fraud.
But now he is launching a nationwide programme to educate GPs about the signs of a hidden gambling addiction, inspired by his own story.
Well, let's speak to David and his son, Adam, who's working with him on this project. Good to see you both this morning. David, can I ask you first and foremost, when did you realise that you had a problem here?
OK, you say first and foremost, in actual fact, the time I realised I got a problem, I was in prison. It was then I first realised I got a problem. And I went to a GA meeting within prison. They talked about their problems and were quite open. And I recognised in what they were describing for them was same for me. I was deluded, basically, into thinking all I got was financial problems. The fact is, I was an addict to gambling, and that was causing my financial problems, not vice versa.
Yeah, it's interesting that you'd got that far, even as far as prison, before you actually realised that the one thing was causing the other.
Yeah, true. Even myself, I was thinking, this is not me. I mean, I'm not this sort of person, but obviously I am. Just kidding myself, never mind anybody else around me. And in particular, my saviours was my family. Strangely enough, they got the most hurt caused upon them. And yet they did the most to stay by with me and support me throughout.
Yeah, well, do you know what? That's what good family does, David, and it's great that your family did that. I mean, Adam, you're working with your dad now on this new scheme to help people, including GPs, recognise the first signs of some sort of gambling addiction. Is that going to be a tough job, do you think?
I suppose yes and no. I think we've seen a lot of stories across the media in recent years as online betting has grown and grown. And obviously there's a political review into gambling regulation at the moment. So the topic has become more well known. I think really what we genuinely just want to do is help people understand some of the hidden things that Dad and people like him were going through. And hopefully if some of those signs can be picked up, whether it's the debt or the anxiety or having these mood changes that we didn't really spot day to day. We were just getting on with our family lives. Hopefully we can rescue somebody else before there's another story like this.
Well, you just mentioned a few of the hidden signs. What others should we look out for? Should we all look out for?
I think it's the mood changes. It's something that people close to you will see, but people more distant wouldn't. I think the financial carnage caused is usually secretly kept from anybody close to you or anybody that's a family member or a friend. And I've come across people where there's hundreds of thousands of pounds owing in debt caused by fueling the addiction. And absolutely nobody knows about these numbers, which are quite horrendous. So yeah, but very much something that's well hidden, that's for sure.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's I think it's extraordinarily brave, actually, David, particularly to come on, especially after you've been through what you've been through and been to prison, and to come out the other side, hopefully in a much better place. But to be able to talk about it, I think is a really brave move, and I hope it really helps people who may be watching who either have a problem or something is starting to develop. It might just be the little bit of notice that they need.
Yeah, I also think it's wonderful to hear that something that happened to you in prison actually has changed your life, and that maybe if you hadn't gone to prison, astonishingly, the problem might have gone on getting worse. Do you think that would have happened?
I think you're right, yes. I think the addiction would have ran on and on and on, and maybe I'd have ended up in some dark places where carrying on was just an impossible thing to do anymore. I must have been reaching that point, but didn't know it.
Well, David and Adam, thank you so much for coming on GB News today and telling us about that. And let's hope that the work that you are doing now will do some good. Thank you.
Yeah, I do think it's very brave when people come forward and talk about things like that. There are gambling addiction helplines and things. I'm just doing a quick Google for it, actually, which you could do at home. There's NHS has actually got something. There's a National Problem Gambling Clinic and all sorts of things, GamCare. So, I mean, to get on, if you have got an issue, get online, see what help you. Even if it's just talking to someone about it can really help.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we've been talking about your lovely afternoon yesterday with the sheep.
Oh, that's
with the lambs. It was lambing.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely lovely. And we were saying it gives you such an opportunity to sort of connect with nature occasionally, doesn't it? Particularly through animals. David says, me and my wife fight for the attention of our Labrador Fudge. Oh. We both love her very much, but because my wife stays home, she's clearly the favourite. It's probably it's usually the one that feeds them, isn't it?
Fudge, that's a lovely name. Tom says, I once had the pleasure of doing a safari trek in the Congo. We met mountain gorillas that lived in the hills. They are so intelligent and peaceful. You felt very connected to them, given how human they appear when you look in their eyes. I mean, I would love to do that.
I'd be a bit frightened.
I think you have to be very wary.
Safari, yeah.
But to see a gorilla or an ape or something, I'd love to. I've never had that interaction. I'd love to do it.
Love to do safari. It's very expensive, isn't it, doing safari? Well, the way I'd like to do safari is probably not expensive. Far too expensive for me. But I like a nice bathroom to go back to at the end of the day.
That would be nice.
That's what I mean. I'd like to be near enough a hotel so that I could go back and have a few creature comforts. And that's probably not the right way to do safari, is it?
Probably not, but it does sound nice.
Sophie says, I love going on safari park adventures, whether home or abroad. We went to Knowsley in Liverpool once, and there was an ostrich that kept pecking at our car. Clearly, he felt more connected to us than we did to him.
Fabulous. Love it. Well, look, get in touch with your stories, gbviews@gbnews.uk, and we're back with the headlines in a moment.
Good morning. Alex Deacon here with your latest weather forecast from the Met Office. This weekend, dry and fine for most of us. It is going to be on the chilly side, however, with frosty conditions again tomorrow morning. We've got a little ridge of high pressure dominating, areas of low pressure either side, cold air that's been with us for a number of days stuck in here, but some milder air isn't too far away, and that's going to arrive next week. But for the time being, this weekend, as I said, it is a chilly one. We've got a few showers here and there, chiefly of rain over North Wales, the odd one for Northern Ireland, a mixture of the showers across Scotland, Northern Scotland in particular, with some rain and hill snow. But that snow could come down to low levels across the far north of Scotland at times. One or two scattered showers through the afternoon across the Midlands, maybe southern England, but for the vast majority, dry and bright. Yes, it will cloud over a little bit, and it's not particularly warm, but at least that strong wind has eased down. Still fairly brisk winds across the northeast, still bringing some more showers here overnight. Again, wintry showers as well, with some sleet and snow, perhaps even down to low levels. So it could just turn a little icy. Elsewhere, though, it's a dry night with clear skies, and that is allowing the blue to take hold of the map. So it is going to be a frosty one tomorrow morning. Temperatures even in towns and cities close to or actually bang on freezing, and rural areas will be a little bit below. So yes, a cold start tomorrow yet again, but again the sun comes up, the frost will melt, and for most it's a fine day with decent spells of sunshine. Even the showers across northern Scotland tending to fade. We will see cloud increasing across the west, perhaps late in the day. Bit of rain just trickling into the west of Northern Ireland. But again, most places dry. Yes, it's still chilly for the time of year, but again, the winds will be light, getting that sunshine. It doesn't feel too bad. And if you're fed up with the cold, better news lies ahead, because these weather fronts moving in will bring cloud and showers next week, but they will also bring milder air, so turning a little warmer. Goodbye.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls, and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate, and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
The Prime Minister tells GB News exclusively that he was not put on a ventilator when he contracted COVID 2 years ago.
Well, good morning to you. It is 9 o'clock on Saturday, April the 9th, and this is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
We're live across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio.
And coming up for you this morning, in an exclusive interview with GB News, the Prime Minister explains just how unwell he felt when he was admitted to hospital 2 years ago with COVID.
Never happened to me. Was really mild by comparison with the experience of so many other people, so many thousands of other people in this.
The UK is sending another £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment to Ukraine's armed forces after a deadly Russia strike on a train station killed at least 52 people. We'll bring you the latest.
Rishi Sunak's wife says she will pay UK tax on her worldwide income after coming under fire for holding that non-dom status. But Could this just be seen as a political ploy to save her husband's career? What do you think?
And are you one of millions of people whose travel plans are being disrupted? Our Wales reporter will bring us a breakdown of what you need to know if you're travelling by land, sea or air today.
So if you're affected by that, we'd love to hear from you. Or if you want to talk about nature, animals, connection with pets and animals. It's a lovely thing.
One of those lovely moments where you actually feel this is real. Stephen was cuddling a lamb yesterday.
Yeah, you know, it made life worthwhile. It's just that chance to escape from everything else that's going on at the moment and just ground yourself in that little bit of reality and life going on. Get in touch, gbviews@gbnews.uk, or send us a tweet @GBNews. Now, in an exclusive interview with GB News, the Prime Minister has spoken openly about contracting COVID 2 years ago and, of course, as you would understand, praising the NHS staff for their care. But he's denied, despite the talk at the time, that he was ever on a ventilator.
Anybody who's had COVID, and there are many, many thousands of people who have been through it in the country today, will tell you that it can be pretty debilitating. It does put you flat on your back. That's what happened to me. It was in the early stages of our understanding of it. I went into hospital, and it was certainly true that my oxygen levels, for whatever reason, were pretty low. And you know, they put the oximeter on your forefinger, and they monitor you very, very carefully. And they were absolutely brilliant. But for some reason, they couldn't seem to get my oxygen levels to get up to the levels that they wanted. And you should be roughly sort of 94% or above 94% oxygenation of the blood. And I think when I went in, I was in the 80s somewhere, I think. And I then had a pretty groggy night, and went down even lower. But as I've said before, the NHS was absolutely amazing.
So just a little snippet there. You can watch that full interview with the Prime Minister on the Saturday selection. That's at 10 o'clock this morning here on GB News.
Tell you what, it takes a long time to say anything, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
There's an awful lot of umming and ahhing going on there. I know it's part of his style, isn't it? But obviously it gives him a chance to think. But when you see him interviewed like that, you actually realise that, you think, come on, get on with it, Prime Minister, please, don't you?
You don't give a quick answer.
No, exactly.
But that is part of his style.
Yes, it is, his speaking style. And it doesn't stop him making very good speeches when he's in the right mood. He can deliver quite a good speech, can't he?
Yeah, he can. Well, look, let's talk to Conor Tomlinson, who's a political commentator and works with the PR firm Young Voices. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Look, what do we make of this? Because it's quite interesting, not only what he's talking about, but how he is positioning himself in this interview.
Well, it does lend less credence to the theory that he was such on death's door when he made the COVID policy that he rushed into it. And so he took, quite uncritically, the advice of SAGE to immediately institute a lockdown, even when the graphs before the first lockdown, second and third, were cresting the curve and case numbers were actually coming down before we went into lockdown. Most people said, he was so scared by his experience with COVID. And obviously, he was still quite ill with it. But the idea that he wasn't on a ventilator when the majority of people that were put on ventilators were on death's door, it does mean, OK, it's not that it wasn't quite as bad as we thought, but it does mean that perhaps he wasn't staring down the barrel of mortality quite as much when he locked us all in our homes.
It depends what you call a ventilator, of course, doesn't it? I mean, there's the big full-deal ventilator where we've heard some patients had to be put on their stomachs and were clearly everything was having to be done for them. They couldn't breathe on their own. But the other sort of ventilator that maybe the Prime Minister did have is one of those full-face ones where it helps you, but it doesn't actually do the breathing for you. We don't really know from that, though. But he does appear to be wanting to come over as a strong Prime Minister now. Illness is behind us, COVID is behind us, now we've got to get on with what needs to be done.
Well, that was the Maggie Thatcher comparison. He's definitely trying to position himself as what at least the internal apparatus of the Tory party see as a golden age, where they had a 10-year electoral victory. I mean, he said he wanted to be, the new record Prime Minister at one point. He said that when he was talking about, Maggie Thatcher actually closed the coal mines, so she would take really strong action on fossil fuels too. And we've seen how pretty much, I'm partly in the environmental policy sector as well, well, and the energy strategy's kind of gone down like a lead balloon in regards to bringing down energy bills. So we can see that's been an unpopular policy. Now he's saying, oh, Maggie Thatcher would have dealt with COVID the exact same way I did. I think, Hugh Grant's joke about Maggie Thatcher in Love Actually was a bit more of a flattering comparison than Boris saying, I'd do the same thing as Thatcher did, because I don't think she would have acquiesced to the teachers' unions. I don't think she would have uncritically accepted SAGE. She had a science degree from Oxford, for example. So I don't think Boris can really position himself as having the same strength as the Iron Lady when, he's turned on X amount of policies himself.
Well, he always conjures up the image of previous great Tory prime ministers, doesn't he? I mean, he often talks in a very Churchillian sort of style, and by bringing up Margaret Thatcher as well, he is trying to come over very, very strong, which is, I guess, what a lot of people think we need at the moment. However, is he going to reshuffle his cabinet and get rid of Rishi?
I'm a little bit conspiratorial on the Rishi story, because obviously we saw people making mutterings of, oh, that photo was taken from number 11 with one of the original Downing Street Party ones. So I think there's been a lot of internal discord between Rishi and Boris for quite a while. We saw the battle on lockdowns. Apparently Rishi didn't want to do so. Same with the furlough scheme, same with on the nuclear power. So we know they have very different philosophical positions. And so I think what we're seeing with the new Rishi story may in fact be a media war between number 10 and number 11. We know Marina, I can't really pronounce her name, Ms. Mirza, who left recently.
Yes.
No,
I can't say.
No, I'm terrible. I apologise in advance. But her husband was, I know, they had some involvement with Rishi's family. I believe she's the godmother of his children or something like that. And her husband's through The Spectator. And we know that, for example, Carrie has connections in the Mail, etc. I do wonder if these sort of stories are an external press war. We saw a lot of the lockdown briefings being linked to the Telegraph, for example. I wonder if those close to Boris and loyalists are going, Rishi's reputation's getting a bit too close for comfort if the Prime Minister's on the ropes with Partygate, etc. With the May elections coming up, he's looking like a likely replacement. Maybe a little bit of besmirching his reputation might bring him down in the ranks, and we've seen that in the Colin Home polls as well.
Yes, we have, but with all of it, I mean, whether you think that the leaking of all that was right or wrong, wherever it's come from, it does raise questions about the Sunaks, doesn't it? Because it's legal, but the optics are terrible, which is presumably why we've had this reversal over the last 24 hours on Mrs. Sunak's position.
Definitely. Well, I'm uber libertarian fiscally, so I think if anyone would like to use the tax code to avoid giving the government lots more of your money to spend, as we saw with the recent story of them blasting 35 million, literally burning PPE they already paid for example, I don't blame anyone on wanting to give less of their earnings to the government. But if you're the guy setting the tax code, you're the supposedly low tax Tory, as he said on this network before, rather exclusively, if you're the one setting record tax burdens and then claiming, for example, oh, we've got a massive cut on fuel duty by 5p, even though it went up by 7p last year, so you're still making a profit, then don't have the bad optics of your wife being the one paying zero income tax. If it were anyone else, it would be fine. But again, it's another case of one rule for them, one rule for the rest of us.
Yeah, I think that's what some people are feeling. Not everyone, though. What do you make of this, then, from Dana, who's been in touch? Morning to you, Dana, who says, I think Boris has improved massively during the pandemic after a slow start. I think now he's found his feet as Prime Minister.
I think trying to say Boris has won you back over is like trying to regain faith in a cheating spouse. Because he may well have handled, and obviously Boris is no stranger to that, he may well have handled Ukraine quite well with the sanctions, etc. I mean, obviously Russia's now being chased to China, but that was already happening before. So their economy's rebounding somewhat, but we've really put the squeeze on Putin and his allies. But then to say, his handling of a war means he gets carte blanche forgiveness for locking us in our home for 2 years, for caving to the teachers' union and inflicting illiteracy and developmental issues on children, etc., for doing something which had a 0.2% lives saved when COVID's case rate mortality in this country was only 0.8 anyway. The idea that he's engineered economic collapse and now because he handles a war slightly well, he gets our forgiveness. Sorry, no, I'm one of the likely Conservative voters and I would not be voting for Boris
Gosh, it's
again.
a hard job, though. I mean, you said that he took decisions which have affected the economy and the national mental health and things like that. Yes, of course. But at the time he took those decisions, we were all terrified we were all going to die. Or most of us were, because people were dying in their hundreds of thousands all over the world.
Well, I was one of these people that was sort of early looking into COVID just for some external outlets. Like I was speaking about, hey, the Wuhan Virology Institute might be a bit of notice all the way back in January. So I was one of, I was as much invested in the narrative as other people were decision-making wise. But number one, philosophically, the government should not have that level of control over our lives. Because if they can say one emergency is the reason to lock you in their houses, well, if another party comes in and they decide that, like Mark Drakeford said, oh, we should have a curfew on men for misogyny, that's a horrible precedent. And then they already had...
It's not the same, though. This was a virus that spreads if you go out and breathe on people. And so the only way to have any form of control over it was literally just to go into lockdown and stop until we knew more.
But they didn't work. The Johns Hopkins study's even done a meta-analysis saying it saved 0.2% of lives, if that. And that was based on the with COVID statistic, not the 17,000 people that died only of COVID from the ONS. So the policy, all the graphs from people that did lock down and didn't lock down are pretty much the same because it's a seasonal virus. So to have any control over that is pretty much an illusion. And then we threw out the pandemic handbook before that. I mean, the Great Barrington Declaration already said, you know, targeted shielding would have helped the vulnerable and then would have allowed the economy to get back on its feet. And that was the guidance beforehand. And we threw it out simply because China was doing something different. We decided to copy them. I don't think it's fair to say he made the right call.
OK, well, look, interesting stuff. Conor Tomlinson, thank you very much indeed. What do you think about that?
I just think I cannot understand why anyone would want to do the job.
Oh, no.
Because
not in a million years.
Nothing you do is right, and with the gift of retrospect, you're even wronger.
Even wrong. Yeah, I think that's right, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Right to be wronger.
Thank you.
Alistair's been in touch. Morning, Alistair. Says, I think Britain down the line may come good after the pandemic. I think it's shown what needs improving badly in our country. Now we just need action. Oh, again, the action is the issue.
It has pointed up things that I think we all knew and were very lazy about, the things that need doing in the country. But I wonder if you agree that Boris Johnson, like with as Dana said, has improved massively during the pandemic after a slow start. Has he found his feet as Prime Minister? I wonder if you'd agree.
Aaron says, Boris has let too much slip in the party for too long. We need leaders to be present and accountable.
There were always fights in the party, though, weren't there?
And always fights between number 10 and number 11.
Always. But very often, the man in number 11, or woman, but it's always been a man so far, has become Prime Minister later. So, just be an odd thing. We were all talking earlier that Rishi Sunak, holding until very recently a green card in the States, and has houses all over the world and clearly business interests all over the world, could have been Prime Minister, could he still be? Wife, who's a non-dom.
It just seems odd, doesn't it? Just seems like an odd
situation. But maybe that's the new world.
Maybe it is. Look, if all this is making your head spin, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was, how about taking that moment to chill out, to relax, to get in touch with nature once again and just say, actually, this is what life is all about, just in this moment. And we often get that with nature, with animals, just that little bit of peace.
Yeah, Stephen had that little moment yesterday, didn't you, when you met some lambs. You see, I just love that photograph. If you're listening on the radio, you've really got to download the GBNews app and have a look, because you are communing with nature there and watching lambs being born.
Yeah, and then this little one here again, which you can see on the app if you're on the wireless at the moment, which is, I mean, taking its very first steps. 5-10 minutes after it was born, being cleaned off by its mom.
And I know that's happening in farms and fields all over the UK at the moment, which is lovely to see. But we were just asking if you, when is the moment you last sort of, I don't know, had one of those moments? So it may have just been cuddling the cat this morning, having a cup of tea, watching GB News, letting the dog on the sofa or whatever.
But I sometimes think when you sort of think, oh, the cat doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't care what's going on in politics or anything else. He's just like, Hannah's a bit like that. Morning, Hannah. I love doing fun things with animals, she says. My cat Doris is great fun. My son was able to teach it, Doris, she, I presume, to play a sort of catch game. She leaps up to try and bring a ball down when you throw it to her. My 8-year-old loves playing with her. You know, kids and animals.
That must be why I know there's a big movement of introducing animals into old people's homes and things like that, and into hospitals.
Hospitals,
often, because just the idea of just stroking or cuddling actually brings your heart rate down, blood pressure down, and everything. It's actually very good for you.
There are, I can't think where it is. It might be in the States somewhere, but there's a hospital horse. Let's get the horse into the wards.
Well, it would give you something else to think about. Than
it'd be quite nice, wouldn't it? Quite how you train them to behave.
They take pigs into some care homes now, don't they, as well?
Oh, do they? They had some pigs yesterday. And some calves.
Oh, there, at the same place?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Nice. It's just lovely.
It's nice. It gives you one of those moments, and we all need it at the moment.
We do. Especially if you're going to get uptight about if you're heading anywhere on holiday or just getting on the car.
This would drive me nuts because passengers right across the UK are being warned to expect significant delays to travel plans because nearly 30 million of us are heading on holiday for Easter.
Well, if you're travelling on the rail network, cancellations and limited services as well. Let's talk to our Wales reporter, Lily Hewitson, who joins us now from Cardiff Central. Good morning, Lily. What's happening at Cardiff Central today?
Yes, good morning, guys. Today is expected to be the busiest day for travel over the Easter break as people take the opportunity to go on holiday. So whether that's heading on the road to the airport, perhaps another destination across the UK, or even heading to a train station like the one behind me, the roads are going to be really busy. But things here at Cardiff Central are starting to pick up a little bit as the day has gone on. It was very quiet this morning. I've had a chat to one of the customer service advisors. They're expecting it to be particularly busy. Of course, as holidays are kind of back this year, restrictions have mainly been scrapped now in its entirety across the UK, so it's so much easier to travel now. Rail passengers here in Wales have been advised to plan ahead due to engineering works in the north and south of the country, but across the rest of the UK there are amended timetables for cross-country, Greater Anglia and Trans-Pennine Express services, reduced services on the London North Western Railway, bus replacements on the West Midlands Railway, and disruption between Barking and Upminster on trains operated by C2C. So people, if you're travelling by train over this weekend and over the Easter period, people are being told to check those services, check those times, and check there haven't been any delays or cancellations because people don't want to be disappointed, particularly over Easter.
And if you're planning on flying somewhere, I suppose you've got to check with that as well, because air travel is going to be disrupted, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Here in Cardiff in particular, at Cardiff Airport, there's going to be around 20,000 passengers passing through that airport today heading on holiday. And things are expected to go fairly smoothly, but looking elsewhere across the UK, it's Manchester Airport in particular that's been the problem that we've seen all week with the chaos, disruption and cancellations there. Passengers travelling from Manchester Airport have been warned that they may be queuing for up to 90 minutes to get through security and get on board that plane because of staff shortages, because of illnesses related to the coronavirus, and also because of numbers of passengers returning to those pre-pandemic levels. Now, we've seen the chaos unfold at the airport over the last week, and it's expected to continue over the Easter break. The CEO of Manchester Airport has advised people to arrive 3 hours before their flight takes off to ensure that they don't miss it, and of course they don't end up in those very, very long queues. Now, Heathrow, Gatwick and Birmingham airports have also been hit by delays and cancellations, but now Labour have accused the UK government of being missing in action over this situation as the chaos develops as people try to get away for Easter. Now, the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, has warned the aviation sector to be careful about cutting jobs, particularly at this period of time as airports struggle to cope with staff shortages because of people getting ill with COVID once again.
Maybe we should try get a ferry, Lily. Is that a better option?
Oh, I don't know about that, Stephen. P&O ferries have suspended their services this weekend in between Dover and Calais. Now, the company announced earlier on this week that their services would be resuming after, of course, in March, they fired 800 members of staff. There was an expectation that this weekend things would be getting back to normal, but that's not the case at all. Yesterday, P&O announced on Twitter that customers should book with another operator instead before arriving at the port because their services won't actually be running. Of course, this will now exacerbate the backlog that we've seen on the M20 with lorries queuing towards Dover to get on that ferry. It's been in place for about 9 days now, but this is going to exacerbate that backlog. Even P&O's rival operator DFDS has warned of 2-hour delays on their services. So there's certainly a chain reaction now on the ferry side of things that people are going to be waiting for an awfully long time, so it's worth checking with your operator. Do you need to go with another operator to get across to Calais, so you don't want to be missing that ferry journey.
Lily, it's an absolute nightmare, but thank you so much for telling us about it. I tell you what, my recommendation would be to stay home, watch GB News, make a nice cup of tea, and do what I'm going to do, which is tidy the house and try and tidy the garden as well.
Yeah, have a little walk.
My garden looks like a I was going to say it looks like a winter garden. I don't mean that. It looks like winter has, just ravaged
Oh, really?
it. And it's just been too horrible to go out there and do anything about it.
Oh.
So it just looks like there's stuff all over the place and it needs a bit of hard work. And maybe rather than stay in a traffic jam for hours, maybe I'd rather go out in a very cold, wet garden and attack it.
You would feel a sense of satisfaction when you're done.
When it's done, yeah.
There you go. It's not a bad idea.
No, or get a man in. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Well, each to their own, Anne.
Yeah.
Stay with us. We've got plenty more to come for you in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. We're live across the UK on your TV and on your radio. It is 9:24.
Now, here's an interesting one. In Finland, government websites were hacked, reportedly at exactly the same time that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky gave a speech to the Finnish parliament. It came hours after lawmakers launched a new push for Finland to join NATO.
Well, let's talk to security specialist Will Geddes, who joins us now. Good to see you, Will. Look, I mean, it is a fascinating one, isn't it? Because should Finland join NATO, this would double, wouldn't it, Russia's border with NATO countries?
Well, it would, yes. And Finland's particularly vulnerable because they share about 830 miles of border with Russia. And having been up to the Russian border myself in Finland, I know that it's a very permeable border. It's very difficult to actually protect it. So inevitably, Finland's feeling a little bit vulnerable. And in fact, there were some polls carried out quite recently amongst the general public, then the Finnish nationals, to determine how amenable they would be to Finland joining NATO. And the figures were coming in at about sort of 65%.
Are we being too suspicious when we suggest that this hack happened at exactly the same time that President Zelensky was addressing the parliament?
Well, in my world, Anne, we never believe in coincidences. And it was almost a little too appropriate that the types of attacks which were launched against the Finnish government websites, and that was the Department of Defense, Foreign Affairs, and also their main website, were all similar attacks. And they are called DDoSs, or Distributed Denial of Services. Now, what that fundamentally means is it's loaded with a whole volume of traffic to basically just put it under so much pressure that the site collapses. Now, the fact that this happened at the same time as Zelensky's address to the Finnish government, I think we can pretty clearly draw was a motivated pro-Russian attack. Whether it was sanctioned by the Kremlin or not, that's a whole different matter.
Yeah, I mean, it does raise a lot of questions. At a time when obviously Russia's in a tough position as far as Ukraine is concerned, and absolute international condemnation, and yet still saying, oh, we want a peaceful resolution to this. It would seem extraordinary to start provoking other neighbours.
Well, again, I think as even the Kremlin sort of sympathisers to the Ukraine war have communicated, nobody's really quite sure what Putin's end game is. I mean, initially, we all believed it was going to be focused purely on the Donbass region, which would make an awful lot of sense because there's a lot of pro-Russian sympathizers there, and it's had its fair share of conflicts since 2014. However, at the same time, there have been concerns in Moldova, there's been concerns in Finland, and various other countries that neighbor Russia that are not members of NATO. And, this is not really a bad move by Finland in terms of just putting themselves in a position where they can feel slightly stronger and more robust. But this is the first type of warfare that we've ever seen or experienced where it's being conducted on so many different platforms, and cyber being one of them, which is almost as concerning as conventional combat in so much as it will take down infrastructure or could take down infrastructure, communications, all sorts of things. And we're not exempt here in the United Kingdom from those kinds of attacks as well.
And I presume we're going to see more and more of this. But what actually does it achieve? Yes, you could take down the government's websites for a while. You make it difficult for them to proceed. You can do it for business as well. Can you also hold people to ransom in this form of cyber warfare?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Cyber ransom is a huge issue. It could be controlling that network through a zero-day exploitation or through some vulnerability it's identified, draw out a considerable amount of data, and that data could be held and used as leverage in any kind of negotiations, albeit those would be unlikely to be disclosed as any kind of blackmail situation in a public forum. But these could influence changes, decisions, and all sorts of other actions behind the scenes. But to take your point, Anne, about how serious could it really have in terms of long-term implications or impact, we look at the underwater cables, the data cables that have been running obviously into the United Kingdom. Now, one of those of the two major cables that feed us here in the United Kingdom, things like 5G and GPS, one of them's already been breached by Russian submarines, allegedly. Now, if the second one gets taken down, that could have very, very serious implications here for all of us.
Look, I mean, talking about us, I have to say I've noticed a lot more spam in my inbox recently, and purporting to be from things like the tax office or the DVLA or things like that. Now, is this just people taking advantage, or could this be something, to be slightly even more suspicious of?
Well, it's a bit of both, Stephen. I mean, there is certainly a lot of spam emails going out there trying to gain sort of funds and support for Ukraine relief. Again, you've got to be very careful which ones of those that you could potentially click on or download images from, or websites that you visit, which could be harvesting your data, to try and filter as to which are actual pro-Russian and which are just general scumbags who are trying to get your data is a very difficult job. But one thing we do know is that in Russia, they have probably some of the best cyber capabilities there are in terms of hackers. And, next to China, they have enormous capabilities to be able to get into all sorts of places. So you're absolutely right, Stephen, to highlight that we need to be very, very cautious ourselves on any kind of suspicious emails or communications that we might receive. And that's not just on emails. It could be WhatsApps, it could be SMSs, all sorts.
We always talk about the Chinese and the Russians being very good at this sort of cyber warfare. I trust we are as well.
Yes, and we're very good. We've got great cyber defences in this country. But that, in many regards, will be protecting, obviously, government. It'll be protecting government websites, depositories of very critical and sensitive and military data. But us as the general public, we can be very seriously impacted as well. So we've got good capabilities, but the hackers, the really good hackers, which some of which are independent, they're not government agencies as such, are actually acquired and used by the Kremlin to undertake their dirty works.
OK, we'll get it. As always, it's great to talk to you. Thanks very much for that.
Frightening world out there.
I've been to the Russian-Finnish border in the very north of Finland. And it's in the woods, and it was about minus 30 degrees at the time. But there are signs on every tree and saying this, you do not cross, this is Russia.
What were you doing there?
Well, I crossed into Russia.
Of course.
Well, you do, don't you? No, I was on one of those sort of winter holidays.
Gosh.
Quite a few years ago now.
Yeah.
But yes, all these signs saying, you must not cross this line.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you be terrified too, then?
Well,
it's Russia. Over past that tree is Russia.
So I have been to Russia, technically.
Gosh.
Had to do it.
Yes.
But you do. But the problem is with those sort of porous borders, it does raise a whole load of questions about security, doesn't it?
Oh well. Now do stay with us because we've got plenty more to come, including environmental protests. They're going to be taking part over London today.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities to respond to overseas disasters quickly and efficiently. These charities include the British Red Cross, CARE, Oxfam, Save the Children and World Vision.
Their teams are working on the ground in Ukraine and neighbouring countries to bring vital aid to those who need it most. If you can spare it, your gift to the DEC's humanitarian appeal will go a really long way.
£10 provides essential hygiene supplies for a person for a month.
£50 provides blankets for 4 families.
£100 provides emergency food for 2 families per month.
It's easy to give. You can donate online at dec.org.uk or call the 24-hour donation line on 0370 60 60 900. If you prefer to send a cheque, please post it to the Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal, PO Box 999, London, EC 3A 3AA. To give £10 on your mobile, simply text the word crisis to 70150. Standard network charges apply for calls and you must be 16 or over. Texts are charged at the standard network rate and your £10 donation will be added to your bill.
100% of your donation goes directly to the DEC to save lives and deliver critical support where it's needed.
It is 9:34. Very good morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne on your TV and on your radio.
So let's bring you up to date with what's going on in the world. 10 humanitarian corridors to evacuate people from Ukraine's besieged regions, including Mariupol, have been agreed for today. However, the Luhansk governor has asked for more evacuations as shelling has increased in recent days with the arrival of more Russian forces.
Trade unions are organising a day of protest in solidarity with Ukraine, calling for the immediate withdrawal of Russian troops and a ceasefire. The demonstration in London will also demand the government admits all refugees who want to come to the UK without further delay.
The Chancellor's wife has said she will now pay UK tax on all her worldwide income. It's after it emerged that Rishi Sunak's multimillionaire wife, Akshata Murthy, holds non-domicile status, which exempts her from paying tax on foreign income.
Emmanuel Macron has made a final appeal to voters ahead of the first round of the French presidential election tomorrow. The opinion polls show Mr Macron is just ahead of the far-right candidate Marine Le Pen. But supporters say there is a growing sense of discomfort at just how tight that race is.
Around 30,000 vulnerable patients in England with COVID have been treated with highly effective antiviral drugs. The NHS say the treatment is cutting edge and that it improves symptoms within hours.
And the chocolate firm Ferrero has issued a recall on all Kinder chocolate products manufactured at a site in Belgium amid salmonella fears. The company says it's suspending operations at its plant in Allons and says it will only reopen once certified by the authorities.
And Will Smith has been banned from attending the Oscars for 10 years after that incident at the Oscars. It happened when the comedian Chris Rock made a joke about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Now, you must have been waiting for this since yesterday morning, because coming up at 10 o'clock on GB News, it's the Saturday Selection with Esther McVeigh and Philip Davis, and your exclusive interview with the Prime Minister.
Yes, absolutely, because it is 2 years to this week that he was taken into hospital and he was in intensive care with COVID. Never really talked about it before, and that was what we were talking about. And obviously, Philip and I, one of very few MPs voted against the continual lockdown, so it was very much, what were the lockdowns? And we've always said there was a cost of COVID, and rightly so, that first lockdown. We had to do that, we didn't know what was happening. But after that, there's a huge cost of lockdown, and really, was that factored in to the full extent? Because we know now, don't we, significant levels of mental health cases. We've heard Ofsted say how devastating the impact has been on a whole generation of children, the delays in the hospital waiting lists, the impact on the economy and on businesses, and we're going to be living with it now for a long time to come.
Yeah, because it's easy to forget, in a way, that at that time that Boris was taken into hospital, and it was all quite sudden, wasn't it? Yeah. That we were still didn't know very much about COVID at all. All we knew is that in many, many cases, and certainly hundreds of thousands, millions of cases in the world, people were dying from it.
And you're spot on, even down to the fact that he didn't really want to take a test because there weren't that many tests around at the time. So we said, who was it then who said you're not well, you're under par, you need to go into hospital? So those are the questions, because you're quite right. We were living it as it was unfolding at that time.
Because first of all, if we remember, he said he'd got it and that he was isolating himself upstairs in a room, and they were even sort of just putting a tray of food outside the door, leaving it for him. And he was sort of conducting business over the telephone from that room, and it was only when I think people realised that he wasn't sounding very good at all. In the end, they did say, you've got to get to hospital.
And obviously then Carrie was having the first child, she was pregnant with the first child, and how she was helping him, support him. So there was a lot going on inside number 10 there.
It's interesting, though, you say you and Philip voted against the following lockdowns, and we know a lot of people get in touch and say they shouldn't have happened. And yet the Prime Minister, as we saw yesterday, said to you, well, he can't rule out doing that again.
Mm-hmm. And this is where we're saying, and he's saying as well, there's got to be a full investigation report, balancing it up. Let's look at the long-term effects, all of the effects. Of course, you've got to look at the health effects, but there is a multitude of effects coming forward. So it is having a look into that. Who else have we got on the show? We've got Sir Phil Redmond talking about Channel 4. He doesn't agree in the sell-off and the privatisation.
Nobody seems to.
So,
what do you think?
Now, do you know what? I'm yet to be convinced. So I'm not convinced that it's the right thing to do. Philip thinks it is. I think it isn't. So it'll be interesting to hear from Phil Redmond, who was there at the very beginning, day one with Brookside. Exactly. And also now he's got Hollyoaks as well on Channel 4. And we've also got the winning trainer of the Grand National last year, Henry de Bromhead. He'll be speaking to us live from there, because he has had winning horses at Cheltenham, 1 and 2 last year at Aintree. He's obviously hoping to get Grand National winner again this year. And we've got the wonderful Nina Mishkov doing our paper review.
Excellent. Wow, Nina Mishkov.
Fantastic. Yes.
Wow. Let me know. We need to up our game. We only had Petri Hoskin on this morning and Dawn Neeson.
She once said about me when she was a News of the World columnist, she said, the only good way to watch Anne Diamond... No, the only good way I want to see Anne Diamond is face down in a cowbat.
Oh, you've never forgotten that, obviously. Oh, well, do you know what? It could be worth filming the crossover. Exactly.
Lovely. Great stuff, Esther. We'll see you
occasionally speak to each other, but
you'll see her on the way in.
Yeah,
frosty crossing of paths there.
Oh, love it. Thanks, Esther. We'll see you at 10. Oh, that was a bit rude, wasn't it?
In those days, in the 80s, particularly the Wednesday warriors, the women who wrote columns like Anne Robinson and people like that on a Wednesday, they were always horrible. And then you dreaded the Sundays coming out as well.
Is that the sort of competition side of it? Because, obviously, you were the biggest name in TV back then.
Well,
still are, obviously.
Yeah.
But that was vicious.
Oh, lots more vicious than... lots of it came much more vicious than... Linda Lee Potter, do you remember Linda Lee Potter,
yes.
the columnist? She was one of the Wednesdays. She did Wednesday in the Mail. Anne Robinson did Wednesday in the Mirror. And then there was an Express Wednesday lady as well. What's her name? Can't remember her name now. But on a Wednesday, you used to dread opening the papers because there would always be something unbelievably savage about you, just because you were a lady on the telly.
Isn't that awful? Well, they'd have to get through me now.
Oh, that's what I like to hear.
I will stand for your honour, Anne Diamond.
That's very heroic, thank you.
God,
and talking of heroes,
yeah.
Today a naval uniform worn by the Duke of Edinburgh and his Admiral's cap go on display for the first time at the National Museum of the Royal Navy in Portsmouth.
It is, believe it or not, a year ago today since he passed away. Our royal reporter Cameron Walker looks back on that day and the continuing legacy of Prince Philip.
He is someone who doesn't take easily to compliments, but he has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years.
Prince Philip passed away peacefully at Windsor Castle in April 2021, just 2 months before his 100th birthday. He had been at the Queen's side for 7 decades, devoting his life to his country and family. TV presenter Eamon Holmes was broadcasting at the time and recalls the moments the news was announced.
Prince Philip passing wasn't a totally unexpected situation. He had been ill for some time.
The Duke of Edinburgh's scaled-back funeral 8 days later celebrated a lifetime of support for the armed forces. He even helped design the Land Rover hearse that carried his coffin to St George's Chapel in Windsor. His wish for a no-fuss approach was perhaps emphasised by a service bound by pandemic restrictions, a small silver lining in the cloud of coronavirus. But it did mean the Queen was forced to sit alone, just one of 30 masked mourners in the chapel.
These two came together.
Margaret Tyler is known as Britain's loyalist royalist. She claims to own around 12,000 individual pieces of memorabilia and has met the Queen 4 times.
Didn't she look sad sitting there on her own? I just want to go sit with her, honestly. I just felt so sorry.
Prince Philip's granddaughter, Princess Beatrice, describes his incredible sense of humour, but he was sometimes a little abrupt.
He talked to me about climate change once and he said, love it, love it. He said, it's great for the grouse in Norfolk. I don't know why everybody complains. His point being that whatever the climate change was doing, it was leading to a bigger population of grouse, which he would then go out and shoot.
The Queen was actively involved in plans for the Duke of Edinburgh's service of Thanksgiving last month at Westminster Abbey. Her Majesty was determined to be there. Despite her growing frailty and mobility issues, she took the shorter routes to her seat via Poets' Corner, accompanied by her son, Prince Andrew. A decision which threatened to overshadow the day because of the Duke of York's out-of-court settlement in a civil sexual assault case. He's always denied the allegations. There were 2 notable absentees. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex chose not to be there. Margaret thinks he should have made the effort.
I do think Harry could have come over. I mean, he's only got to get on a plane, hasn't he? And I think the Queen would have appreciated that because she's very fond of him, isn't she? He's her grandson.
The service itself celebrated the Duke of Edinburgh's contribution to public life and support for around 700 charities which he was associated with. Free from restrictions, many elements planned for the original funeral could finally be honoured. Now, a naval uniform worn by the Duke of Edinburgh and his Admiral's cap is on display for the first time, celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, a lasting tribute to a World War II naval hero. Cameron Walker, GB News.
It's quite a uniform, that, isn't it?
It's a brilliant uniform, and I don't think any of us can believe that it's a year since he died.
It's gone very quickly. Mind you, do you find time is going faster?
Oh, yes.
I do. Everything is flying by.
A policeman looking younger as
and
well.
Doctors. And doctors.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Now, the environmental group Extinction Rebellion will today begin launching daily protests in the capital.
Alice Porter is live for us this morning in Hyde Park. Morning, Alice.
Hello there, good morning. Yes, these protests, they began yesterday at Tower Bridge. Extinction Rebellion were on the bridge and they wanted to raise awareness about the city's reliance on fossil fuels, and they're beginning this series of protests that have begun here in April, and they're going to be happening every day. So I'm here at Hyde Park and I'm joined by one of the protesters, Indra Francesco. Very nice to meet you. Thanks very much for joining me today. Just tell me, you've come all the way from Somerset down to London to join part of this sort of demonstration. Just tell me why you've come down.
Oh, why I've come down? It's kind of the last-ditch attempt, really. Every 3 times, 4 times in London now, coming to try and spread the message that climate change is happening. And unfortunately, we have to come to the capital, because the capital is where reporters are, and it's where, it's where a lot of the harm is being done, in fact, for around the world.
Now, when I think of Extinction Rebellion in London, I kind of can't help but think of the massive pink boat in Oxford Circus, which caused a lot of problems. I was actually working there at the time and it was difficult getting around. But from what I can understand, Extinction Rebellion have said they're going to be changing their tactics. Just talk to me a little bit more about that.
Of course. I mean, it was great to create a big splash. You know, in the beginning, it was all big, it was all pink, it was all gazebos. But obviously, tactics have to change. So the first rebellion was fabulous, managed to take bridges and all sorts. And as it said, you know, you remember the pink boat. That's what it's for. But now, as tactics change, as people have changed, and also strategy has changed, it's less on infrastructure now. So not so many things are going to be brought to the arena, as it were.
But there's still going to be a lot of disruption. We're going to be starting here in Hyde Park and then moving through the centre of London. And there may be many people watching thinking, well, hang on a second, if people are just ordinary people, it's a beautiful day, just trying to get about their day, they really might not want to be sort of confronted with any sort of disruption to stop that. Obviously, it's, you know, issues to do with fossil fuels and the environment is something that for ordinary people, they don't have much of a say on.
I completely agree. I mean, I don't want to be doing this either. You know, we don't want to be causing disruption. We don't want to be in the streets. I would much rather be somewhere beautiful today, you know, with my children. But unfortunately, we feel that this is the only way we can actually get heard and get the message out there. And yes, sitting down in streets is awful. And if it's the only way we're going to get a message across, then unfortunately we're going to have to do it.
OK, well, look, thank you very much for speaking with me today. I'm going to be here for the next few hours. They're starting here at Hyde Park and then moving through the centre of London, where there is going to be quite a bit of disruption. So I do warn any drivers or anyone walking around London just to check their journey before they go, in case they get caught up in any disruption.
OK, Alice, thanks very much indeed.
It's the way things have gone this morning. It's been all about disruption, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
But some may argue that that's a particularly good case, and she was a very good spokesman for the cause, I suppose.
At least we can have peaceful protest. And I know it
and a
drives you
reasoned
mad at
argument,
times.
surely.
OK, let's have a look at the biggest sporting and showbiz events this weekend.
Yes,
Ada McGee
is with us, and so is Stephanie Tecci. The fabulous 4 of us.
Good to see you. Fabulous 4 of us, yeah. Ada, what have you got to kick us off with?
We've got to start with the National, haven't we? The Grand National.
Yes.
I didn't think it got much attention last year. Rachel Blackmore on Manila Times, because of the global events overtaking things, you know, becoming the first female winner of the Grand National. I thought it was an extraordinary achievement.
It is, yeah.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, I don't pay that much attention to the National at the best of times, because it tends to fall on times when the football's really busy. And I remember seeing on TV, I thought, that's a woman just won the National. I couldn't believe it.
It was.
I couldn't believe it, you know.
Yeah.
So she is one of the favourites. Again, there's another horse as well called the Snow Leopardess, who gave birth to a foal during a 2-year break from racing, so you could say she had a mare in that period. But she's back today, looking to become the first mother horse to win the National. It could happen up there near the top.
Nice.
I'm quite likely to have a flutter on her because she's got such a nice name.
Yeah. Snow Leopardess, yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, and so 70,000 people are expected at Aintree today. £150 million expected through the gate in terms of betting. The betting shops are open, as opposed to last year when they weren't. It's still relatively easy to bet last year because obviously you've got all the online mechanisms and so forth. And I've had a chat with my mate Michael as well, an old colleague of mine from Sky. I said, who's the favourite for National today?
Yeah.
He said, I put 50 quid on Ghost Boomerang, but that'll come back to haunt me.
Have you placed your bets?
No, I haven't won. It's 30 years this year since I placed a bet on the National. I won on Party Politics, April the 4th, 1992. And I was explaining to Stephen earlier on, I probably mentioned it yesterday actually as well, but to preserve the sanctity of that victory, I've never had a bet again.
It doesn't get better.
I want to go out on 100% record on the National.
Talk about preserving dignity. Harry and Meghan.
Oh, they're making a comeback, not to the UK, of course, guys. They're going to go to the Netherlands instead next week. So this is Meghan's first trip out of the US since leaving the royal family as a senior royal. And she will be there with the Invictus Games. But, guys, we know they don't do things by halves. So they're going to be joined by a Netflix production team who's going to be filming everything. Apparently, they've got a big live surprise that's going to be all in aid of their Archwell production.
A big live
company.
surprise?
Yes, at the Invictus Games. But it's all, I don't know. But, you know, it could be from anything. It could be one of their celebrity mates. It could be a star. Who knows? But it's all going to be filmed for Netflix, so I'm sure
it's going to be one of their programmes, isn't it? I'm glad to hear that he's still doing a lot with Invictus.
Yeah.
I just wonder, you know, he made such a fuss about not coming to Britain because he wanted the Met to provide security, and yet he does have enough. You know, he feels okay going to the Netherlands.
Sometimes I just feel like, don't get me wrong, I'm actually a big fan of Harry and Meghan, but I just wish they were honest and saying, look, we're just done with the UK. We just don't want to come. We don't feel happy there, rather than making these excuses of why they don't want to come home. Because to miss your own granddad's memorial and then a few weeks later, it's kind of bad taste.
Do you think they can ever recover their popularity in this country? I mean, they've got a lot of living to do.
I think they will with a younger audience.
Yes.
I think with the younger generation, they will, because they're a bit woke, I feel like they can connect with them a bit more. But with the older generation that values family values and being there for your family, I don't think society will
sailed, do you
that.
think?
No, not at all. How about you?
I don't believe necessarily that younger people just follow that trend. I think the trend shows that people actually get, as they acquire experience, maturity, they become accountable for their decisions, they're less likely to fall in love with woke ideology. When I was growing up at university, I was told that, the Blair administration, that's it for life now. Wherever replaces Blair will be a microcosm of what he's done. It's not that way. People drift to the right because they become more accountable. If they have children especially as well, they have to. You can't just make policies with abandon as you
I tell you what, talking about that, Maradona's shirt, the Hand of God shirt. What's that story all about? I don't quite understand what's going on.
So you'll probably remember when the Hand of God happened in 1986. Maradona, with a handball, cheated England out of the World Cup. He also scored a magnificent goal a couple of minutes later. It was one of the probably most famous game of the 80s, possibly one of the famous games of all time. An England player called Steve Hodge, who was then playing for Nottingham Forest, had the presence of mind. I doubt he was thinking 36 years ahead, but he had the presence of mind to take Maradona's shirt from him and swap the shirts. The shirt goes up. He's preserved it in a bank vault for all those years since, and it goes up for sale this week between £4 and £6 million at Sotheby's. Now, there's a slight row over it because Maradona's daughter has given an interview in Argentine radio today, or this morning rather, saying that the shirt that Steve Hodge has in his possession is actually the shirt from the first half, and he changed at half-time, and the second half is when all the magic happened. Now, the radio presenter said, well, where's the second half shirt then? And she said, oh, well, I can't say where it is, but she's trying to devalue, by the looks of it, Steve Hodge's shirt. Sotheby's say they've done independent verification on the shirt. They say it matches up. Also, if you change at the end of the match, surely you're getting the second half shirt rather than the first half shirt.
You think so?
So there's no doubt over the veracity of the item, but he stands to make. I mean, Steve Hodge would have played in an era when he didn't make the same money as players make now, but he's getting his payback now. There's no doubt about it. You get a minimum. Yeah, that's the reserve price. Probably will. Yeah, could do.
I tell you what, I knew nothing about this, but it's piqued my interest, Miss Tetchy.
I can imagine.
Bennifer is back.
Bennifer is back, and apparently they are engaged.
Now, you've got to explain who Bennifer is.
Okay, sorry, guys. It's Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. So we know they got back together last year, and it's been all eyes on them. But last night, J-Lo released a video where she had an emerald engagement ring on her finger. So she sent the rumour mill into overdrive that her and Ben are engaged. Obviously, they were engaged about 18 years ago, but they split.
And then it was a terrible split.
Yeah, because it was literally, I think the day before
they
were about to get married. There's
the ring for those of you listening on the radio. It's a big engagement ring, and she's getting so upset about it.
She's like, it's perfect. But guys, how can she make this engagement announcement and Ben is missing from the video? So I'm like,
does he even know?
Oh, he does, because she done it in a way you had to sign up to her website in order to watch the video. So smart, savvy Jennifer, she's making it all about her and to get more people subscribed to her website, where she said she's going to talk about her private life.
Oh.
Yeah, but
and then she'll say, actually, it was never an engagement ring, it's just a lovely ring he gave me, and it'll all go... but she'll have so many more viewers on her website.
But this will be the 4th time Jennifer will be getting married, so hopefully it'll work out for her, She's been married 3 times before.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's Ben?
No,
I don't
once.
think he has.
He was
Once.
married to Jennifer Garner, the actress.
Oh, of course, that was Jennifer.
She'll know the vows off by heart now, then, won't
Yeah.
Good too.
Hopefully
Wow.
they make up to the aisle this weekend, like Brooklyn Beckham
Oh,
and
yes.
Philip Out. So, yeah, they will be getting married. So I'm sure tomorrow we'll delve into
But it's
all
going to
of
be a
that.
very low-key.
Low key.
Everyone in
So
Florida.
3 million quid, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
costing for the
at
wedding.
least.
That's
Yeah.
quite a lot of money. Look,
affair.
Aidan, Stephanie, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you. Thank
See you
you
too.
for joining us today. We're back from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, but don't go anywhere because Esther and Philip are here next with the Saturday selection.
And that interview.
Good morning. Alex Deacon here with your latest weather forecast from the Met Office. This weekend, dry and fine for most of us. It is going to be on the chilly side, however, with frosty conditions again tomorrow morning. We've got a little ridge of high pressure dominating, areas of low pressure either side, cold air that's been with us for a number of days stuck in here, but some milder air isn't too far away, and that's going to arrive next week. But for the time being, this weekend, as I said, it is a chilly one. We've got a few showers here and there, chiefly of rain over North Wales, the odd one for Northern Ireland, a mixture of the showers across Scotland, Northern Scotland in particular, with some rain and hill snow. But that snow could come down to low levels across the far north of Scotland at times. 1 or 2 scattered showers through the afternoon across the Midlands, maybe southern England, but for the vast majority, dry and bright. Yes, it will cloud over a little bit, and it's not particularly warm, but at least that strong wind has eased down. Still fairly brisk winds across the northeast, still bringing some more showers here overnight. Again, wintry showers as well, with some sleet and snow, perhaps even down to low levels. So it could just turn a little icy. Elsewhere, though, it's a dry night with clear skies, and that is allowing the blue to take hold of the map. So it is going to be a frosty one tomorrow morning. Temperatures even in towns and cities close to or actually bang on freezing, and rural areas will be a little bit below. So yes, a cold start tomorrow yet again, but again the sun comes up, the frost will melt, and for most it's a fine day with decent spells of sunshine. Even the showers across northern Scotland tending to fade. We will see cloud increasing across the west, perhaps late in the day. Bit of rain just trickling into the west of Northern Ireland. But again, most places dry. Yes, it's still chilly for the time of year, but again, the winds will be light, getting that sunshine. It doesn't feel too bad. And if you're fed up with the cold, better news lies ahead, because these weather fronts moving in will bring cloud and showers next week, but they will also bring milder air, so turning a little warmer. Goodbye.
Europe is in the grip of the most devastating humanitarian crisis since World War II.
The people of Ukraine are facing unimaginable suffering
as their homes are destroyed and their loved ones are killed.
Millions of people are being forced to flee for their lives, carrying only their children, their pets, and the clothes on their back.
The pain, loss and destruction grows by the day.
The people of Ukraine urgently need our help.
Already a vast humanitarian operation is underway. Britain's Disasters Emergency Committee, or DEC, brings together 15 leading aid charities